Hey, there we go. Worked out just fine. Good evening, everyone. Hope y'all are doing well today. Happy Mother's Day tomorrow to all you wonderful mothers out there. Thank you, Waiting, for putting that up there. I hope everybody's had a good Saturday so far. Everybody doing okay? We Before we get started, let me make sure everybody knows who is waiting in the middle there. That's my buddy, my compadre, the man himself, BFFG, Bigfoot Research, Mister Richard, sitting over there on the other side to help us get started tonight. Guys, if you have not subscribed or checked out the man's channel, you need to go check him out. If you like outdoors, he offers a lot of views on Florida terrains and stuff, and I enjoy watching it because I don't get to go down in Florida much. And I've been there a couple of times, but I never really got out to walk. And he's in territory that you would not really associate with beaches and stuff like that. It's beautiful scenery down there. I always enjoy it, Richard.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I do. I enjoy it. All right. Before we get any more started, we want to give you some more stuff here. Old Bear's Den of Bigfoot, guys. Go check him out. He's good. Got good stuff. Done some recent interviews. I believe I'm supposed to be coming on pretty soon. So come check us out over there. We're gonna try to have some fun over there. And let's see here. Let me put this one up there. Bigfoot Forest Giants. Follow BFFG on YouTube. We've already brought that up, guys. Go check him out. Seriously, I really do enjoy his channel. And Sasquatch Encounter Brigade. That is Mr. Johnny Two Bears and his
That's my,
crew. Hey,
that's my
that's your boy, Eddie. He's fun. He's fun. I thoroughly enjoyed Johnny. I did too. And Happy. Oh my goodness gracious, that was just a fun show to do. I
uh,
really enjoyed it.
they're good people. They're good people, man. You know, like you said, we went down there. It's been a couple weeks ago. BFFG. Me, Jimmy, and Bobby drove to Georgia and spent a few days with those guys at their location called the Happy Place, and it was a blast. It was just a lot of fun. Great guys. Great, fantastic guys.
Oh yeah, and it's not called just a happy place that like people think it's just giddy. It's Happy's home place. I believe it is.
But they named it the Happy Place because that was the location that Happy had
Mhm.
his very first encounter, and which kind of keyed them in on this location. And Happy knew the owner and hooked them up, and now it's become one of their primary research areas.
Mm-hmm. That's a good place. A good name for it too. And the not so perfect Bigfoot show, Miss V. We absolutely adore Miss V on this channel. I'm
Yeah,
sure you do too.
she's awesome. She's a sweetheart.
Yes, she is. I always enjoy watching her on her shows. I always try to make time. And she's coming out with some shorts here lately too that I've enjoyed. She's done some good interviews. And if you're looking for us, this is where we're at. Dirt Road Bigfoot. You may find us pretty easy that way with Wayland and Icebox. Uh, Another way you might be able to find it, I tried it the other day and I couldn't find it, but I found it on Dirt Road, is at Icebox 1.0. And if you have any stories you would like for us to tell or get on the show, uh, guys, we're not what we call particular about that kind of stuff, but you can email Colburn Whalen at yahoo.com. And if you don't want to come on and tell your stories, we'll tell them for you. We don't mind. One other thing, gotlube at hotmail.com. Guys, you're trying to get in touch with Bobby White for the Bigfoot night lights. And he's got a few other trinkets that I've seen on there that some I bought for my wife. I haven't showed them on the show, but I really love the night lights so much that I decided to go ahead and start using mine. Put it over here, about back here behind me, so I could see it at night. And my wife didn't like it. She said she'd rather see it when she comes through, so she moved it. So I'll have to settle in on that one. So, anyways, there we go. I got that out of the way just in case anybody ain't at the end of the show. So that's what I wanted to do. All right. Onward. All right. It is time for anybody in the chat room. I'm going to post this up. It is a link. If you want to come on the show and have a discussion with us about anything you want to, so far as Bigfoot related, possibly Dog Man, whatever. But this is not for your questions. Me and Richard and Wayne is going to start off a conversation, but if you want to talk about something different, you're more than welcome to shoot us a question or come on, whichever one you would like to do. If you decide you want to come on, you don't have to stay on the whole show, and you'll have the option of camera or no camera. You have to cut on your microphone, of course, but you don't have to click on the camera if you don't want to be seen. You may be wanted in another state. I don't know. But any reason you don't want to come on and show your face, that's okay. Of course, we would rather that you did, but it's not a big deal if you do not want to. So, anyways, all right. I'm gonna ask a simple question right off the bat. Richard, what do
Yes.
you, what do you consider yourself? Are you a researcher, a data collector, enthusiast? What do you feel like you really are?
All the above. Yeah.
That
Uh,
that narrows it down.
well, I'm out there primarily looking for the evidence.
Hmm.
What I do is I go out there and um, anything that draws me into an area that says, if I see structures or prints or just really anything that accumulates, not just one, I have to see multiple things that say this is a viable area. Okay, then I will spend every single weekend in that area for a month or two. And then I'll leave it, go to some of my other areas, and I'll come back to it. You know what I mean? And so right now I've got roughly 4 areas that I rotate through and that are viable. That means I've found evidence, I've collected evidence, I've documented evidence, and now it's just a matter of catching this thing on film. That's my ultimate goal. I just want 10 seconds. If I can get 10 seconds of this thing in motion,
Hmm.
um, then I'll be happy. Pictures aren't going to cut it. So I try to stay away from pictures, even though that people that follow my channel and stuff like that, I do a lot of hiking and I go through a lot of brush. I do, I love nature photography, so I take some photographs, stuff like that. There's a lot of things behind the scenes that the people don't see that I do, because technically, if I'm taking a picture of a scene that I've came across and says, wow, this is beautiful. I want a picture of this. It's not Bigfoot related. So sometimes it doesn't make it into the video or doesn't make it onto the channel, but it'll make it onto my personal Facebook page or something like that. Cause I keep the two separate. But if I wasn't looking for Bigfoot, I'd still be out there. I'd still be hiking, still be
Hmm.
photographing, and still camping and stuff like that. It's kind of like a bird watcher. They go out in the woods, they hike, they're out there. They just happen to be looking for birds and taking photographs. I'm the same thing. I'm out there, I'm searching, and I'm trying to find the skunk ape. And like I said, I tell people all the time, I said the skunk ape is extremely selfish, very selfish. Because he's got nothing better to do, and I'm out there looking for him, and he won't give me 10 seconds. That's all. Just give me 10 seconds of you in motion. Jump out, wave at me, and leave. I don't care. you
Yeah.
know,
Unfair relationship sound like to me.
a very selfish relationship. So, and I seem to be the one giving it everything. So,
Yep, you're the one throwing everything in the relationship, getting nothing in return. I got you. I
so
got you. So what do you seeing how you brought it up? What do you think the skunk ape is?
I, you know, I make the comment all the time that I think it's a great ape. Now, let me clarify that humans are great apes. We're
Hmm.
all categorizing the same thing with gorillas, chimpanzees, orangutans, and humans. I think it's a hominoid. I think it's a ancient hominoid that is living parallel to us. This happened many times in history. Before science said that was impossible. And since it's impossible for two hominoids to live at the same time, that means skunk ape is not true. Well, now science has kind of flip flopped on that, and they found that multiple times in human history, hominids have lived parallel to humans or parallel to another hominid. So why can't it happen today? Why can't Sasquatch live and cohabitate this planet at the exact same time that we are? And I think that's what it is. but that's my theory. Some people might say it's an ape. Some people might say it's a caveman. That's just my theory. That it's an ancient hominid that's living parallel with us, and it's learned through history, probably from watching us, that it's probably best to stay hidden. It's probably best to hide, instead of being out in the open and say, "Hey, here we are. We live here too." Um, because I think they've seen what the human race can do to whatever culture or whatever species is out there. It's sad to say that we've really become such a cancer to everything that's around us. That's what
Yeah,
we
it
do.
is.
We destroy. That's what we do. We overtake and we destroy. And they see that. I'm pretty sure they see that. A lot of animals see that. And I don't think it's just limited to Sasquatch. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Well, I felt like, you said that. Let's see. Yeah. If Bigfoot, why is the government not going ahead coming out and saying it's a real deal? They've already come out and said, there are UFOs kind of deal. But they won't come out and say Bigfoot is a real deal. Certain states have certain laws, about any kind of humanoid or
Well,
intelligence, like Florida.
it has been acknowledged by the government. People just don't see that. Okay. And I'll tell you why. We bring this up a lot. Jimmy Barr brings it up. We all have a copy of this. But if you go on, I have to look it up. But I think it's a Great Swanee. It's the hunting regulations for the Great Swanee area of Florida. And if you go through the hunting regulations, and I have a copy of this, I can always share it to anybody who wants to see it. But if you go into the hog section, the hog hunting regulations, it specifically says in that regulation there is no taking of Bigfoot, skunk ape, and so forth. Okay, why did they put that in there? Why did they put that in there? This is on a government website. It's blah blah blah.gov. Okay, money spent to create the hunting regulations and print them and put them on the internet and stuff like that. I don't think it's in there as a joke. See what I'm saying? Because I've never known the government to joke, lie to us, but not joke. See what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
it's in there, and I think it's to cover their butts, because if you do go out there and you do take one of these things and you kill it, they can go back and prosecute you because it was there. It's written, saying, and that's the way they're going to keep it hush hush. So it's kind of like they've put it out there, but they buried it so deep you don't realize they've done it. Because in the state of Florida, and I'm pretty sure it's the same throughout the country, is there's no regulations on hunting hogs. None. I can use whatever weapon I want to use. I can use spotlight. I can hunt them at night. I can hunt them at day. I can bait them. There's no restrictions on killing hogs, okay, because it's such an invasive species. So why not hide something like that in a regulation that nobody's going to go look at? Nobody's going to go look at. You may check deer regulations, see if anything's changed, or turkey or whatever.
Yeah.
Nobody goes and checks the hog regulations because it is unlimited. You can kill as many as you want, as often as you want. There's no regulation. See what I'm saying? You hide it. You hide it in plain sight. And that's what they've done. Also have documentation from the 1970s from the state house in Florida, where there was a discussion on the floor about the skunk ape. What do we need to do about it? What do we need to call it? It's like 7 pages of notes from the house discussing the skunk ape. And that was back in the 1970s, and I have copies of that. So it's there. People do know, okay, but it's buried. It's hidden. I think as time went by, they're like, we can't bring this up. We can't, because it has a lot of implications. The skunk ape or Bigfoot or whatever, there's a lot of implications if it comes out as real. And I don't think they want to face that because it has all sorts of speculations as far as how we're going to protect it, land ownership, different things like that. I mean, these things, I believe, my theory is they move, they travel, they go where the food is. You know what I mean? When you run out of resources here, you go to the next place where those resources are. So if you're a landowner and you have 500 acres or 1,000 acres, whatever you have, and now these things are on your property, Now, does that put your property in limbo? Now you can't do what you were doing on your property because now you have the spotted owl on your property. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It has implications there. It has implications as far as maybe tourism, and maybe it'll affect tourism where people that go to national parks and state parks and different places to camp and take the family, maybe that changes and there's a revenue loss. Um, you know, then religious aspects. You got some that'll see this thing as a religious aspect. Recreated or was evolution involved? You know what I mean? I
Mm-hmm.
think there's a lot of different aspects on why they want to keep this thing quiet. You know what I mean? We all know the lumber industry, that side of it. We've heard
Mm-hmm.
that times. And that's very powerful. That's very powerful. I don't think people understand how powerful the lumber industry is, especially in the day and age that we live in now where marijuana is becoming more open. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost state has it for medical. Now it's always, in different states looking at being recreational. It was the lumber industry that got rid of marijuana because it was a competition for resources. You can make almost anything out of hemp, paper, clothing, rope. I mean, the list is unbelievable what you can make out of that. Well, that is a direct competition against the wood industry. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they got their lobbyists. There's a lot of money involved, and they got their lobbyists. So it's an uphill battle, to bring this thing out. It's not like UFOs or anything like that. This is an uphill battle to get this out there. Very difficult.
That's some really good points. Very good points. I was looking at it like, uh, are they really a danger to us, or are we more of a danger to them? That's
Oh,
what I was looking at.
oh yeah, definitely. We're more of a danger than them. You
Okay.
know. Well, if you look at it, and we everybody who's an enthusiast in the Bigfoot community, we see reports, we see videos, we hear encounters, we watch all this stuff, and I would say 95% or more of the stories that you hear and the reports that you read, they've all been passive.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one has been passive. Okay, these things aren't out there mass killing human beings. They're just not.
No.
And it's always, I was hiking and this thing just walked out in front of me and we just looked at each other and it went its way, I went my way. I was fishing and I saw this thing come across the lake and look at me and then went back into the woods. It's always a very passive, brief, very brief, but passive encounter. Okay. And a lot of the ones that were more fearful was because there was a vocalization. It vocalized at them, it yelled at them or growled at them or something like that, which is very scary. I've experienced that myself. And but it didn't harm anybody. It's still passive, you know and so no, I am a true believer that these things are not out there mass killing people and you should fear going into the woods and stuff like that. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's millions upon millions of people that hike, camp, hunt, fish, all this stuff daily, monthly, yearly, and we don't have mass killings. Okay. A lot of times when we do have killings in the woods and stuff, come to find out it was a person that was out there doing it. You know what I mean? Serial killer or an accident or, something like that. I don't think it's Sasquatch doing it. And one is because I don't think the numbers are that big. I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, hey, Stephen, good to see you, but uh, yeah, but I've watched several kind of different stuff, and a lot of it's passive, like you said. Mine was passive, uh, but there are sometimes that almost like they got different personalities. Some
oh, yeah.
show aggression, this and that kind of stuff. Uh, and protective natures, like I was watching something earlier. They was talking about uh, there was a sense they didn't have to ask questions of what it was. They knew what it was. It's been in the storylines and all that kind of stuff. Uh, calls him predator. Said they are not to be trusted, and he's full-blooded Choctaw. Uh, yeah. Now, being a predator is a whole lot different than what we would call uh, predator on human beings. I don't believe they're out to prey on us. I think they feed off us.
Don't trust. I mean, but that doesn't mean it's aggressive. You know what I mean? I can see a bear from 50 yards away and go, okay, I'm not going to trust to go any closer to this thing. You
That's
know what I
right.
mean? It's not being aggressive towards me. It's not chasing me down or whatever. I'm just using my precautionary judgment to stay at a distance from this thing. You know what I mean? I think anything, if you poke it with a stick, you're going to get bit. You know, if you end
Yeah.
up in the wrong place at the wrong time, something could happen. That's not what I'm saying. You know, you got some people that think these things are killers. They're out there, and if they see you, they're going to kill you. And that's just not the case. You know, um, but I do believe if you enter an area that you know there might be young, or you know maybe you surprised them, you just snuck up on them. You were, the
Mhm.
wind direction was just perfect where they didn't sense you or something, and you scared them. You know, I think if anything were to happen to a person, I think it was circumstance more than happenstance. I think that on the most part, it's passive, you know. But like any animal, and these things are still an animal. We're an animal. Everything's an animal. You still have to be um, aware and take certain precautions. You know, I do it all the time. A matter of fact, last week is a prime example. And I didn't put the guy on film because, I don't have his permission. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want
Yeah.
this guy to somehow find out I got a YouTube channel. He's on it. But I was in the woods off trail because I tried to find a place and get off trail. And as I was going through the woods, I ended up finding another trail. When I entered that trail, I heard, to me, I thought it was a parent yelling at their kid. You know what I mean? But there were a lot of F bombs being dropped. I mean, a lot of F bombs. So as I'm following this trail and I get closer to the racket, it is this old man, okay? Um, just a real tall guy, but probably in his late 60s, maybe early 70s, and he's having a fit. He is yelling at Mother Nature. He is screaming and hollering and F this and F this and kicking dirt. And he was shooting every tree out there, the bird. And when I come out of the woods, he was already had the middle finger up right towards me. And I think when I walked out, he maybe thought I thought he was shooting a bird at me. And then he put it down. He just stared at me like this. And so as I go walking past him, he just looks at me and he goes, "I'm clumsy." And I said, "Hi, I'm Rick." You know what I mean? But as soon as I knew I was out of his area and he wasn't bothering me anymore, I started videotaping. Like, oh my god, I just met batshit crazy right now. This guy was just off. I don't know what happened. But I don't know if Mother Nature's his ex-wife. I don't know. But he was going off. You know what I mean? Those are the things I worry about. And you have to worry about humans just as much as you got to worry about Sasquatch or anything else. You know what I mean? So I was armed.
Yep. Oh yeah, gotta be. Stephen, Travis T. I believe camping cage free. I haven't seen him put anything in here lately. I know he was here at the beginning of the show. Guys, this show is actually about y'all. Richard will tell you, Waylon will tell you, and I will. Without you guys, I mean, we're just up here having fun. But this show right here is for you guys. If you got a question or if you want to come on the show, either one, post it up. We're not going to sit here and wait till the end of the show. This is for you guys. If you want to get on here and discuss with us, man, we'll be glad to have you. Be glad to have you. But anyways, see, Stephen Heck says Ohio grassman is known to be aggressive if you get close. I don't know how much closer I could have got last weekend. Be honest with you, I was up there at Salt Fort and enjoyed myself. Had a good time. But no point in time did I feel aggression. I'm gonna put it to you like this: wariness, carefulness, yeah. But I never seen or heard anything being aggressive that time. That's
Well,
not to say that they really ain't, but you know what I'm saying.
yeah, I mean, being aggressive is what is it? Stomping feet, shaking a tree, screaming at you, but it's still not harming you.
Hmm.
See what I'm saying? It just doesn't want you coming any closer. It doesn't want you in the area. It doesn't. He's trying to get you to go. See, if I don't like you and I want to kill you, then why would I shake a tree and I'm just going to come over and do it? You see what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
as
And,
quietly as possible.
Right. And they're not doing that. If you want to dispatch something, then dispatch something. But it doesn't mean like I said, shaking a tree, screaming, hollering, and doing all that other stuff. It's a sign. Like a dog barks before he bites. I mean, he growls. He shows
Mhm.
his teeth. He doesn't want you any closer. As soon as you back off, they stop. You know what I mean? But
Hopefully.
but like I said, that's why I say 90-95% of the time it's going to be a passive experience. Not to say there isn't a rogue one out there, a bad one that would not do harm to you. Quite possibly, I would not discount that whatsoever.
Yeah,
You know
you
what I
got
mean?
to keep that possibility in the back of your mind. You always got to keep it there.
Yeah. I have a buddy of mine that was a ranger, and he was telling me the story that he went on a hike in one of the areas that I actually go into, and he's trying to lose weight, so he's doing these early morning hikes through this one area. And as he was walking, a black bear came out and was walking the trail towards him. So he's a ranger, so he knows what to do: stand big, raise the arms, look menacing. And this thing just sat down. It just sat down in the middle of the trail and just stared at him. So he started to back up, give it its space, and he went to turn around to leave. There's another one coming behind him. So he was trapped. One
Oh,
direction, that black bear coming the other. So he's on his cell phone calling, saying, "Hey," calling one at the ranger station where he works and says, "Hey, send somebody out here. I've got bears on both sides of me." But all of a sudden, both bears just turned and went into the woods. See what I'm saying?
yeah.
And that's a bear that we know will bite.
Hang on a second. I'm reading what Travis T said. He feels there are a lot more bad ones than good, and the ones that pose to be good but have bad intentions. Don't know. I don't
Well, like
know. I feel
gotta,
like they got personalities just like anything else does.
you got to look at the reports. The reports is part of the science. So if you go out and if you go on the BFRO or Bigfoot Mapping Project or whatever, and you read these reports, you're going to get the numbers, and the numbers say that they're not that aggressive. See what I'm saying? People contact us. We just had 2 Class A sightings in Thanksgiving in one of my research areas. All of them matter 3 days. Okay, both passive. They happened to be hiking. They saw the thing. Nothing happened. You see what I'm saying? That happens a lot. A lot. It happens way more than somebody said they were attacked. See what I'm saying? Now, if you're in your car at night and you're making out with your old lady or whatever, and something comes and starts scratching and banging on the windows and stuff like that, you might consider that aggressive behavior, but is it really? See what I'm saying?
It
Or is
could
it
be curiosity.
that exactly? You know what I mean? And so I think a lot of it, the aggression is mistaken. Now, I'm not saying they're not aggressive. I'm not saying they would not do harm. I'm just saying that the numbers show that it's a higher percentage that it's a passive encounter, than it would be an aggressive encounter.
Hmm.
You have hunters in hunting stands that these things have walked underneath and looked up at them and did not harm that hunter. You've had people had stuff thrown at them, okay, but weren't hit. You know what I mean? Trees
Hmm.
shaking, growls, yells, trees ripped up out of the ground and tossed, but the person wasn't harmed. Okay. You're talking about a creature that can harm you very, very, very quickly. You know, they're
Hmm.
cartoonish fast. People that have seen these things move say it's like watching a cartoon. They're just that fast. Well, it'd be on you in 2 seconds. It could destroy you without hesitation, but it doesn't. See what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I go out there with the confidence that, granted, I take precautions. I do go armed. It's not for Sasquatch, but I live in Florida. I live in
Yeah.
South Florida. There's a lot of things that can do you harm in these woods, a lot of things. So I have to prepare for that. But I go in it more worried that other animals are going to get me, than a Sasquatch or a skunk ape. You know what I mean? Every skunk ape encounter has been passive. It's a brief moment in time that you see these things. It's so brief.
I know. Yeah, that's what I always wondered. Environmental dangers. Uh, we go out there, we go camping. We're worried about mosquitoes, chiggers, snakes, deadfalls, uh, all kinds of little pesky little dangers, I call it, as you're out there in the woods. Uh, and I'm wondering, they're out there all the time.
Mhm.
What are they say immune to, used to, aware of? You know what I'm saying? I've asked a question with you, and when we done that show, what about rattlesnakes? What would happen if one got bit? That kind of stuff.
Well, I think there would probably be a level of, they're immune to certain things. I'm sure. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. Do bears get bit by rattlesnakes?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Do deer get bit by rattlesnakes? I'm sure those things happen on occasion. You know what I mean? Um, I just, there might be a level. We don't know a lot about this creature. We don't know its metabolism, how it processes different things, food, poisons, whatever. You know what I mean? Does it have a way, if it does get bit, to treat the bite? We don't know. You see what I'm saying? But it has to deal with the same things we have to deal with. We're just clumsier out there than this thing is. Matter of fact, when I was in Georgia with Sasquatch Encounter Brigade, Jimmy filmed a rattlesnake. I, in one of my videos, practically stepped on a snake. And I did use some choice words. I try not to use profanities on my channel, but that day I did. But I almost stepped on this snake. You know what I mean? And those are the bigger fears than anything else. You
Yeah.
know, it's like the late Kerry Arnold said that one time. He goes, "You're looking for Sasquatch. When you go out in the woods, you're looking for Sasquatch
Mhm.
until you see a snake.
Just a good point.
Now the rest of the time you're out there, you're looking for snakes, because you came across one. So it brings up your awareness and you're more alert on what's going on. So
Travis has got an interesting, and like I said, guys, this is a chat room driven show. If you got questions or comments, go ahead, put them on. If you want to come on the show, I'm gonna paste this on there again. Uh, you don't have to come on camera. You just come right on. Okay. V, hello, bud. How you doing? I think you're probably from BFFG. Glad to have you. Uh, Richard or Waylon, either one of you guys. Uh, Richard dropped a lot of f bombs with that snake.
it caught me off guard. It really did. It caught me off guard. Jim. I was already out of my element being in Georgia, not Florida, and I don't know what they got up there. You know what I mean? I was
Every
already,
snake, every snake is poisonous till it's dead. Then you know.
but I was already happy that I'm walking through the woods, and every 5 feet I wasn't pulling spider web off my face. You know what I mean?
Hmm. But anyways, Travis put in there. He watched a documentary the other day, and they was talking about why we don't find bodies. Very interesting subject. A lot of not good answers there. But they said that they might bury them underwater in creeks and streams. How do you feel about that?
No proof.
Okay,
It's
Waylon.
just It's just a theory. Anything dealing with the death of these creatures and where their bodies are, it's all theory. Until you see it, find it, or whatever, it's all theory. Everybody can come up with a theory. I truly believe, just like bears, cougars, primary what we call predator species, when they are dying, tend to go find a place and hide, and they die on their own. Um, your cat will do it, which is a predator species. Your dog will do it. Just find a quiet. They know when they're dying. They find a quiet place, a secluded place, and they die. Um, Nature has a way of taking care of that body fairly quickly.
I
And
got
right,
I got something that's kind of act, picking at my brain a little bit. Both of you guys. All right, you say bears, cougars, such like that. How come we don't find their bones?
that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. They're predator species. They're going to go someplace secluded, hidden, and they're going to die. And we're not going to find them. They're going to go to a place that they feel safe and comfortable. Okay, and any place where there's not humans is a safe and comfortable place. They might find a cave, or they may climb into some bushes or something like that. Um, but you got all these theories. Oh, they bury their dead, or this and that. They're all theories until you find a burial site. Then it's just a theory. Until you find one in underwater cave or whatever. It's just a theory until then. All theories are good. I mean,
Yeah.
it be any one of them. You know, I just lean more towards that the numbers, like I said, the numbers aren't that high. And I did this make believe mathematical equation on how minor, how small the population would be for a Sasquatch in correlation to human population. It's a neat little thing that I did. I won't bring it up tonight, but in the end, when I did this mathematical equation for every single county in the United States, I did it
Mm-hmm.
for every single county. Okay. It
Mm-hmm.
came out to be roughly, either depending on your county, 1 or 1.1 Sasquatch. That's it. So my county's like 3,000 square miles, and there would be one Sasquatch by population. And it's a made up number because we don't know how many Sasquatch they are. But what I did was I took the population of the United States of 300 and something million people and said, okay, what if 0.05% of that population was Sasquatch? See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
There was like a million Sasquatch. You're like, holy crap, that's a lot of Sasquatch. But then when you break it down per state, you break it down per county, see what I'm saying? Now, there's going to be some counties that don't have Sasquatch at all because
Right.
they're huge metropolitan areas and stuff like that. So there's a lot of, things that would have to be adjusted in this calculation. I was just using in general sense to show you that there's not very many. So the state of Florida, the entire state of Florida, let's say, would have 70 total Sasquatch in the entire state. Okay, that's a very small number, and
Yep.
and people don't realize how much area of Florida is woods. A lot of it's woods, and so 67 of them can hide fairly easy. And if they wanted to go somewhere and hide and die, they could do that. Florida heat, Florida swamps. It's very acidic. It's going to decompose a body very quickly, very quickly. Um, so I think that the likelihood of finding one, it's like we don't find a bear that died
Yep.
of natural causes. You know
Yep.
what I mean? It's
Yep.
always or a car or something like that. Um, Florida Panthers, we don't find those in natural causes. It's usually a car hitting them, or they get caught in a trap or something like that, or somebody hunted it. Um, and we know how many panthers are in the state of Florida, and we know how many black bears in the state of Florida, but we're not finding their dead bodies on a regular basis either. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things, and you're talking about a creature that has, some intelligence. It had some intelligence, and
Mm-hmm.
it self-awareness to the point where it can avoid us, and if I want to, I can today I can leave this house and go someplace and die, and you probably wouldn't find my body if I found the right place to lay down. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They're still finding bodies here and there every now and then. It's been dead for a year or two. But hadn't decomposed yet.
Well, I was just watching the news the other day. They found a body that disappeared 74 years ago, and they
Really?
knew where it was at. They knew what mountain. This guy was a mountain climber. They knew what mountain he was at, and it took them 74 years to find his body.
Wow. Don't know how that can happen, but
Yep.
and that's my whole point a while ago. Because if you look at Bigfoot kind of like a bear or some other kind of, and I'm gonna tell you what, guys, I don't I don't agree with the word creature. I don't agree with the word cryptid. I don't agree with that kind of stuff. And I just could not put my finger on it till just probably about 30 minutes before I come on the show. My wife said they're a mammal. I said, really? She goes, yeah. I said, why you say that? Said they have born babies. They're not hatched. They're not just created. Said they have to bear children. And I said, okay, I get that now. So now from now on, I call them mammals. I'm not going to sit here and say there's some kind of creature like they're from the Black Lagoon or somewhere that just come out of the depths of hell, coming to get us, that kind of deal. Cryptids or anything like it. From now on, for me, they're mammals. That's what they are. We're mammals, you know. So enough said about that, right?
I call them whatever I feel like saying at that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, skunk
No, I
ape,
get it.
whatever, booger, it depends on how I feel that day.
Yeah, but they, like I said, they bear their children. They don't hatch them, you know. Anyways, and they sure don't split apart in two. That metamorphosis crap. But anyways, Waylon, what do you think about all this so far?
Oh, I think I don't know. I mean, like he said, it's just a theory. Do we find out where the graves are or find the bodies? I mean, we're just, we don't know. We don't know what they do. I mean, I think they may bury their dead. I mean, like he said, Mother Nature takes care of a body real quick in the forest. It don't take long.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It don't take long. I mean, it's not long. I mean, it's just a matter of days, and you can go by there. There might be a little smell or something left, and everything will be gone if you're not careful. I mean, it's
Yeah.
there's a lot of the they say there's no Black Panthers in the state of Alabama. Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
They
they
Well, in one
are.
are.
of the videos, we found a dead hog in one of my videos. We went back 2 weeks later, and you could not find any signs of it at all. None. Period. Like it was never there. Not even an indenture in the ground. It was gone. You know,
Hmm.
nature has a way of taking care of stuff out there. So
Oh yeah. Now, what is NSPB show? Not so perfect Bigfoot show.
yeah.
Okay, sent me. Okay, now this one maybe a little bit of a touchy subject, but that's all right. That's what we're here for, right? Chat room. All right, Travis T. Well, let's get this whoever V is. Wouldn't they have to build a dam to bury them underwater? Not sure I believe that, but who knows? That's what we're here for. Kind of it does kind of seem strange to try to bury them underwater, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't subscribe to that theory only because it seems like awful lot of work. You know what I mean? It just I don't know. How would you do it? Are you digging or are you just finding crevices? You got to weight it down. I mean, when this body, let's say it's 500 pounds, let's say it's 1,200 pounds, who knows the size of these things? It's going to bloat at some point and
Yep.
float down the stream if it's not secured properly. That would give it away. You know what I mean? If it floats downstream and you got a decomposing bloated Sasquatch, somebody's going to find it. You know what I mean? Things don't decompose as quickly in the water as it does on land.
Yep.
You know,
Well,
so
I'm sitting there trying to think of catfish holes and everything else that you can put your hands and arms in. Ain't no telling how deep that might go. I'm not much of a they call it grappling noodling. No, I'm not sticking my hand in there.
yeah,
Nope.
I mean, like I said, they're all theories until it's proven one way or another. There's no
Mhm.
experts in this field, period. I've had a lot of discussions with different researchers and stuff like that. And as soon as that that word comes out of their mouth that they're an expert, I tend to walk away because there is no
Mhm.
expert.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. See what I'm saying? If you're an expert, then you should be able to answer every single question. You should be able to
Yep.
just like, but it's not just answering the question, it's giving the proof, it's giving the receipts to say here's this, here's this, here's this. It says what I just said is true. See what I'm saying? Until then it's just stories, it's just words that you're telling me. I don't want to hear the words. Back it up with some proof. Show me something that backs up what you just said, and I'll buy into it. I will sign up to it right away. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But you got to have that. See what I'm saying?
Sure.
And until we find a body, and until we're able to do what we need to do to get more information on them, it's all speculation. That's all it is. And I've had, like I said, many conversations with different researchers, and they have different theories, and I'll listen to the theory and I'll say that is a good theory. You know what I mean? um, but we all have them. I'm more animal based on my theories.
Yep.
Call them natural. You know, um, that's just where I kind of focus on. You know what I mean? So
Physical evidence is what I'm
yeah,
looking for.
things that can naturally take place that would be easier. You know what I mean? Like if if I was a person, I had a family and we were living in the woods and one of them passed away or something like that, you know, would I bury them? Probably. Would you know, creatures, you know, of all different species have been known to bury, and it's mostly because of the smell. When you know, I don't know, in my field and what I've done in my life, I've had the unlucky opportunity to be in contact with dead people, and you know, sometimes we don't find them until quite some time later. The human body has a very, very distinct smell, very distinct. It's not like an animal you find on the side of the road. It's not something you smell in the woods. The human body is very distinct, and any law enforcement and anybody else that was in law enforcement or anything like that will tell you, you know the smell when you smell it. It's very distinct. See what I'm saying? Well, I would probably bury the body so I could prevent from having to deal with that. Back in the day, they would cover them in rocks. You know what I mean? The idea of covering with rocks is really to help prevent animals
Right.
from getting to you. They, you know, it's a lot more difficult for them to move these big rocks to get to your body.
Well, they feel it has religious implications because bone to bone, that type deal. That's why they done it.
Right. And then as time went by, like Indians and stuff like that, they would burn the bodies, you know, build a fire, do a ceremony and burn the bodies. But it's for, you know, the fact that they know this thing's going to decompose and stuff like that. Now that's one thing we can pretty much say without too much theory is Sasquatch is not burning their dead. I think we can pretty much count that one out. You know, there's no evidence that they use fire for anything. So.
Yeah. All right, let's move on for just a second. We're getting a little bit behind. Waylon.
Yeah.
Let's see. Stephen Hicks wonders if aliens know about Sasquatch. You said you would address that. Let's hear it.
I think they abduct the Sasquatches just like they abduct the human beings.
You do?
Yeah, sure do.
Okay. Why would you say that?
Because you got a lot of stories where people see lights, UFOs, or Bigfoots.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they're there. All of a sudden they're gone. So, you know, it's a theory. Once again, like everybody says, it's crazy. But I mean, if they can abduct us and study us, why wouldn't they want to abduct them and study them? Unless they made them. Did they make them?
There was a book that came out in the 1970s, and it was about a woman that was an abductee case. Okay, under hypnosis, they found how many times that she had been abducted by aliens and stuff like that. And she had this relationship with the aliens, and they basically told her they have always been here from the beginning. And they have collected every species that has ever been on the planet. So that falls right into what Waylon said. Why wouldn't they want a Sasquatch to add to that collection too? You see what I'm saying? You know?
All right. All right. Like I said, this is a chat room driven show tonight. Travis T, they might die in a different realm or dimension and maybe bend the sunlight in a certain way when they pass away, so it's never seen. Light bending theory is an interesting one too. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think they might. If they lose their energy, when you lose you lose your density, you lose your mass. Maybe they'll lose it all, and we don't know. I mean, just like me and you talk about icebox at night. These we know that these Sasquatches have abilities that we don't have.
That's correct. Yep.
That's obvious. They have. We don't need those abilities because we're not in their environment. So I mean, we don't know. I mean, it's another crazy theory that it might. You know, I don't know. I mean, maybe so. I don't know.
Well, I feel like this is as far as light bending and aliens and anything else you want to go off with, orbs, portals, that kind of stuff. That's interesting stuff to talk about, but I have to look at it from a natural sense, natural world. What proof can I have? I'm not going to go up to somebody that says I don't believe in Sasquatch and say, well, you know, here's evidence of aliens is doing this, light bending. so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying, where I'm going with that. If I can't explain it to them in a natural world, there's no even sense in trying to talk to them anyways. You
Yeah.
know, they're interesting questions. Explain light bending. That's where you bend light. That's all I know.
It all falls back under physics. It's a
Yeah.
long, drawn out thing. I can explain it to you, but it'll take a while. But I mean, it's uh,
I'm more of the natural sense. Okay. I don't believe, and this is just me. I'm no expert. It's just my theory.
Yeah.
And, and it's from being out in the woods as often as I am almost every weekend. Um, Animals have a natural ability to camouflage and hide themselves. I took the Freeman footage, okay, and from the moment the Freedom footage, with the Sasquatch walks out, I slowed it down as it walked across, and there's a point there where I paused it and I screenshotted it and then I posted it. You can't see that Sasquatch at all, period. I can even put an arrow and you still can't see it. But as soon as I put it in motion, you're like, oh
Yeah.
crap, it is right there. Okay. All it did was when it walked in front of Freeman and he was filming, it got into a different shaded area of the forest and it blended in. Okay.
Mhm.
A lot of animals do that. A lot of animals do that. I tell people all the time, um, we see motion before we see anything else.
Mhm.
Okay. A lot of creatures will, once you come up on them, they stop and they freeze. Deer do it, panthers do it, bobcats do it, possums,
Bigfoot does it.
they all stop and look at you and they don't move. Okay. Because they're hoping you don't see them. Remember the old game when you're a kid? Can't see me, you can't see me. That's what they're doing. They're just stopping. Okay. As soon as they move, you spot them just like that. There it is. It's moving right there. I've done it squirrel hunting. I've chased a squirrel around a tree and lost him.
Yeah.
I know he's in this tree. I just saw him, but I can't find him. See what I'm saying? Because he hunkered down and he stopped moving. See what I'm
Mhm.
saying? In that Freeman footage, it got to a point where there's a little bit of sunlight, a little bit of shading,
Yeah.
blended in perfectly. Blended in perfectly. Okay. It did not cloak. It did not go into a portal. It didn't do anything supernatural. What it did was something very natural, very natural. And it blended in. And it could have stopped right there and froze, and Freeman would have never saw him. And I think that happens more than anything else. See what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure at some point in my adventures in the woods, I've probably been within a matter of yards from these things and didn't see them. You
Yeah.
know,
go back and well, you can it adds up to this. Go back to the original Predator film in '87. These guys are smart when they make these movies, but how do you sit around and dream this stuff up? They knew about light bending back then and way before that.
oh yeah,
Way before that. So that tells you they've been studying this for a long time. I mean, a lot of people will say I'm crazy, but they show you this stuff in little bitty intervals in these movies throughout the years. And they show you we've been studying this stuff and looking at this stuff for a long time. It'd be hard for me to sit around here in my room and write a script on a Predator movie and something pops in my head. Well, I'm gonna make a monster that bends light. You see what I'm sort of saying? Does it make sense what I'm saying? Or does
Yeah.
it sound dumb,
No, don't sound dumb to me at all. Um, let's see. Travis T put it up. His theory basically is soaking up the light to look like the environment mostly. And I'm
I'll
kind of
tell you.
wondering, just to be honest with you, I'm going back to a theory that old Bear put up to me, that they do have translucent tips to their hair, and maybe that causes it to blend. Just like Richard was saying, you got something out there that doesn't move, and we all know, those of us that's been around rattlesnakes and copperheads and whatever else out there, if they don't move, you won't hardly ever see them.
yep.
That's Richard. That snake that he saw, I guarantee you it moved. and then he saw it.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, that fake until it got out from under my foot.
yeah, and
You
it was
gotta,
within feet of me. You know what I'm saying?
you
Uh,
got, you got to
which,
look in the lab. You got to look in the labs and stuff like you and I talked, Ice Bob. So this
mhm,
has done been proven. This is not Whalen's theory. This is facts. I mean, you have certain fish, you have certain insects, small insects. They can blank out, and you can't even see them. They're gone.
mhm.
I mean, people don't realize that the different kind of fish that do that in the ocean and the smaller insects and stuff. Do your research and you'll see it and you'll find it. I mean, the scientists have done proven that. So if you got other, things doing it, so why can't something else do it? I mean,
Yep. V says lizards. You know,
yeah. So
like Waylon is talking about, guys. I wish y'all could be part of the conversations that I have with Richard and Waylon and Old Bear and Miss V and numerous of others, even you guys. Uh, what was it that we was talking about that one time, Waylon, where they can take a flashlight and put you in that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. But they can put you in
black
this
goo.
room. What was it?
I call it black goo. They've had it for a long time. They developed it, and it's just it's you just got to look at it. I mean, it's unreal. It's unbelievable to the human being, but it's real. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah, and what we're talking about, guys, is you can take a flashlight in there in that room, and they'll shut the door on you, pitch black. You cut the flashlight on, you won't never see the light.
Oh
It's
yeah,
amazing.
Oh,
It's
oh yeah,
amazing.
black. Yeah.
Okay, it's some kind of tubing that they use or something or another that they
There,
made.
yeah.
it's you can Google it. I forget the name of it now. But science has created the darkest black ever created. And if I
Mhm.
painted a body with this black paint, and I painted a room with this black paint, you can walk in this room with a flashlight and not see me. I can
It's
stand in the
amazing.
middle of the room, and you can't see me
No.
because the paint and everything, if it's that color, perfect camouflage, perfect hidden. You know what I mean? But as
Hmm.
soon as you walk out of it, you see me clear as day. It's really, they spray painted like a mannequin's head with this paint, and you can turn it and everything, and it just looks like a shape. That's all. It's amazing paint, but it's the blackest black. Google it. It's amazing stuff on there. Amazing.
Yeah, and that's stuff that we've created. You can only imagine what nature does better than what we do. You know. All right, let's see here. Like the Dog Man movie, and there's a technology to it.
Oh
I
yeah.
think Travis kind of sees what I'm talking about. You know. Uh, all right, we'll move on just a little bit more. Uh, let's see here. Where would you like to go with this, Richard? Because I need to take a break. Where would you like to go with this?
Oh, I don't know. Throw a question out there, and I'll start talking.
Okay, let's have some fun. Because guys, I'm serious. I really would like for anybody else that would want to come on the show where this is your opportunity. Um, I know y'all like to. How many times y'all have sat there and said, "I wish I could get on that show and ask this guy a question or this guy a question or bring a point." Now's your opportunity, and it could be anything you want to talk about. This is a chat room driven show. If you don't say nothing, we'll come up with our own. But I'm gonna leave Richard off with this, and I'll be back in just a few minutes, guys. Uh, do you think one needs to be killed to prove it? That is a damn good question,
They've
Richard. I'll
been
be
done.
right
Yeah.
back. I'm gonna leave that in your hands, and I'll be listening, guys. So,
All right.
all right, I'll be
Okay.
back.
Where I'm a non-kill person. I don't believe that one should die. But with that said, where we're at today in Bigfoot research, with CGI, AI, Photoshop, all these different things that are out there that are really hurting Bigfoot research a lot. Um, it has now gotten to that point where it's sad to say that one would probably have to be dispatched to prove the existence, because we're at that level where, especially a lot of us, we monitor a lot of different channels, we monitor a lot of different Facebook pages and stuff like that, and it is ridiculous the amount of misinformation with CGI and AI and stuff like that that's out there. um, when they're doing that, they've wiped away any of that as being good proof, like a photograph of, a video or anything like that. It's made it extremely difficult, to the point where even us researchers that are non-kill researchers are scratching our head going, okay, we had this evidence, we had this great stuff for a long time, since the 1950s and 60s and 70s, and we've continued with this evidence, but now it's so whitewashed with all this technology that nobody's going to believe us if we show them a photo. Nobody's going to believe us if we show them this and this. So it's sad to say that it's probably going to end up taking a body. Now, I'm hoping that it's a body that's taken accidentally, a natural disaster, because there's stories that Mount St. Helens, when Mount St. Helens blew, they found, some dead Sasquatch. What happened to those, where they're at, it's all speculation. You hear the stories and what happened and stuff like that. But it's going to take a semi truck driving down a highway, accidentally hitting one, probably a juvenile or something that probably isn't as skilled crossing a highway like mom and dad are, and getting hit, and people showing up and look at this, and then it gets proven that way. I don't know. It's sad, and like I said, it's not researcher driven to kill them at all. I would say most of the researchers that I've spoken to are all anti-kill. It's technology based killing them. Like I said, I always talk about, I want that 10-second video. Just 10 seconds of watching this thing in motion. And I want that because it's a lot like the Patterson-Gimlin film, where if it's something's in motion, it's a lot easier to critique and to see if it's faked or not faked, because you may have muscle movement, or movement in the trees, the branches as it walks by, things moving off of it, just different things. It's anatomy. How's it working? How's it moving? That's a great thing that Jeff Meldrum does. He's able to break that stuff down. So if we can get another solid video, because in my mind, there's really only two solid videos out there. There's some that are good, but two that I feel really, really comfortable with is the Patterson-Gimlin and the Freeman footage. Those two are very, very good. And what's amazing about those two is those Sasquatch look the same. If you've seen the video and you look at that Freeman, the face on the Freeman one as it walks out, it looks like Patty. They look the same. So that species, which is still in that same area, that's what they look like. But like I said, I think some have been dispatched in the past. But I think the powers that be have those. They've taken care of those. I think the Smithsonian has a lot to do with that. I think if anything gets collected and ends up at the Smithsonian, that's where it disappears. When they talk about giants, there's this video. I keep it in my history because I really, really like this video about giants, and it goes way back in the history and all the way up to current events on giants and stuff like that. And the Smithsonian evidently had collected quite a few. I'm talking not one or two. We're talking hundreds of giant skeletons. Giant. When we're not talking 7 or 8 feet. We're talking 12, 15, 20 feet tall, stuff like that. These huge skeletons. And I can't remember in the video, but at some point they ended up being dumped in the ocean. The Smithsonian got rid of them. So I think that, Bigfoot probably has been collected quite a few times, that the general public's not going to know about it. It's got to take one of those rare moments where, like I said, a semi truck hits one or something like that. But again, I'm not pro kill. I'm not going to go out there and shoot one. It's just, just something I don't want to do. I'm all about preserving this species, preserving its land. You know what I mean? Making sure it has a place to live, period. And if that disrupts industry or disrupts whatever, so be it. You know what I mean? I think we've taken enough. So I want to do what I can, and it's going to take that video, and like I said, if I get that 10 second video, It's not something I'm sharing. It's not something I'm coming out right away saying, guys, look what I got, look what I got, look what I got. If I get it, I'm
I better see it.
huh?
I better see it.
Well, you're going to meet me in Tallahassee, because the first thing is try to get a meeting with the governor and say, hey, look, I've got something you need to see. This is something you need to look at, and we need to. What do we do about it? How do we preserve this? This is, this is a Florida species. And once one state proves it, one state proves it, it'll spread like wildfire throughout the nation.
All right, I'm gonna address some of these things, and I'm gonna bring up some things, some points that you just made. Would it be better to, and possible, tranquilize one? Let me see if I can answer that in a conversation I had up there at Salt Fork. One, you don't know how much it weighs. Two, if you under tranquilize, you've got a problem.
Got a problem.
Yep, and if you over tranquilize, you just killed it.
Yeah.
So tranquilize is going to be a difficult situation to try to analyze just how much um, of the medication you need to shoot into one without under or over, and that's going to be a tough way to deal. And so killing one is just going to cause a huge uproar that we don't need. I'm kind of like, do we really need to kill one? As far my personal opinion, no. I already know there's one out. There's at least one. Okay. Do you think Bigfoot needs to protect us, or needs us to protect it? They've been around for years now. That is actually a good question, considering the forces that we have now. I mean, we could blow up that gum jungles into nothing but a big old ball of fire in just a heartbeat. So that's a damn good question. It really is. Uh, Travis, do you think there's a ton of good proof out there that's been lost in hoaxes, accusations? And I'm going to get to that in just a minute, Travis T, because hoaxing has gotten out of control. No doubt about that. I wouldn't doubt that one solid gold piece is out there floating around that's been called fake because of toxic people. Fakers of anything really pissed me off by Steven. Okay, well, he's back. Sometimes I think hoaxers are created by the powers that be just to help muddy up the waters. I tend to agree with that. I do.
Yeah. Some
We
Facebook pages that I think are straight up created and monitored by non-believers.
Yeah. You need to go by DEA, maybe elephant trunk size. There again, I think you would be over tranquilizing there, Stephen. Okay, now to get back, AI. All these hoaxers that's out there, it really, really does muddy up the waters, as Travis T said a while ago. It's just so easy nowadays to basically hoax anybody. But there again, you've got many credible witnesses that come on show on like us and Not So Perfect and many others, Old Bear, and more than just us, and we're just little people. But I'm gonna go with this question: the Patterson Gremlin film. We had a discussion about that not too long ago. What part of that movie, they call it, convinces you that she's real?
It's not necessarily the film itself as much as um, the minds, the people that have critiqued it and went through it, that the science, let's put it that way, that applied to it. Like, everybody talks about MK Davis and, the last 10, 15 years he's been working on that. Okay. But take that away for a moment, because he's looking at it as a photo analysis. Let's look at the science. Jeff Meldrum did a video where he broke that film down beautifully. And when he's done, if you watch that video with Jeff Meldrum when he breaks down the Gimlin footage, if you're not a believer in that film, then I don't know what to tell you. But he breaks it down from foot to ankle to knee to hip to shoulder. I mean, he breaks this thing down. And that's his specialty. That's what he does. People think it's just footprints. No, he's about bipedal motion. which is the entire body, how these things move, how the, and stuff like that. And he breaks it down, which is amazing, let alone the fact that, you watch that film over and over and over, and you just keep watching it. And the way this thing moves so fluidly across that sandbar, and just keeps going and just disappears into the forest. It's just amazing. I don't think a person, regardless, could walk. I couldn't do it without at some point in that walk stumbling, tripping.
Hmm.
I do it every day in the woods. I'm getting caught on something or tripping on something, or tripping on my own feet, whatever. Um, this thing is fluid, just so fluid as it moves, and nothing bulky about it, nothing mechanical about it, nothing artificial about its movement whatsoever. So I'm convinced that's real solid film. Now I'm basing it on, what is it? So many seconds of film. Anything before and after that, I'm only focused on the famous, whatever,
Hmm.
what, how many frames that was. But to me, that's very fluid. Then when you watch the Freeman, it's basically the same thing, just in an opposite direction. See what I'm saying? This thing was moving very fluid, very naturally through the forest. It's wide open. I mean, it walks right wide open. Like I said, if nobody's seen the Freeman footage, you really should check that out. I don't think it
Yeah.
gets the I don't think it gets the level of, you know people should give it way more credit than they do. Patterson is great. The Patterson Gimlin film was great, but I think that Freeman footage is just as good, just as good. And that's, like I said, those are the top two that I've ever seen that I'm really impressed with. Anything below that is probably thermal footage or something like that I've seen.
I'll say this much: I watched the Patterson Gremlin film, not in its entirety, but enough. There's many people that said I'm the one in the suit. Okay, which they've been basically proven no, they wasn't. But anytime that comes up, I always go back to the last part of that walk. The very last part, and I'm sure a lot of people I didn't even pay no attention to it, is when it's walking away from them. Everybody's watching the classic pose. You know, if you'll keep watching and it keeps going, and even in my intro doesn't go far enough, they're at the end of it. She puts her arm way out there. I mean, it's way apart from her body. It's not like somebody with a natural walk, even in the woods. We tend to keep our arms close so we don't hit no bushes, briars, that kind of stuff. And in hers, I mean, the arm is basically, I know I can't do it on here, but it's way extended, way out from her body. It's not so much in front of her body, it's out toward the side and out a long ways. And I'm like, there's nobody in our nature that's going to think of doing something like that. It really kind of kicks me into thinking this is not a hoax, period. But anyways, that's just my theories. Uh, let's see here. Well, the Travis, hmm,
There's no way that Bob Gimlin and Roger Patterson rode up on a bunch of horses.
mhm,
They knew what they had done, been called down there. I mean, we've got M.K. Davis is the greatest Patterson Gimlin film breakdown I've ever saw, in my opinion. And there's some other guys out there great. Somebody knew exactly what was going on there. They knew exactly what they wanted to do. I mean, I've done had people tell me that they just didn't walk. They just didn't ride up on that. I mean, when are they going to tell the truth about it anyway? I mean, it's been 60 something years ago. What are they hiding? What are they? Are they trying to figure out which one's going to be the first damn millionaire? Is that what it is? Are they trying to chase a dollar, guys? Y'all are chasing your ass like a dog, just like this. That's what you're doing. Because we've got the Patterson film. I mean, we've got three or four different films, and I mean, it just didn't make any sense to me. I think way more went on there than what people have wanted to talk about or needed to talk about, because there was work going on there. and
Mhm.
I think they probably I think they probably killed several of them there that day.
Yep, that's a subject that needs to be brought up. But before we do, V says MK Davis was not correct about this film. What was he not correct about? I'd like
Yeah,
to know your opinion. I really
yeah,
would. I like to know.
yeah.
I like to know your opinion. Not to. It should be a good discussion, V. Uh,
What are they hiding? What are they hiding, Richard? What do they think they're hiding by not letting people see these films now? And it's been 65 years, 65 years. What are they hiding?
Well, I think again it goes back to they don't want to openly acknowledge the existence because of all the implications that it would have, religiously, economically, and stuff like that. I think, like I said, the forest industry has a lot of money in their pockets and a lot of lobbyists. Um, so I think that has a lot to do with it. Um, I
You-
think a lot of the stuff that we deal with, especially with the Patterson Gimlin film, um, it was misinformation to create diversity on the film. Because as
Mhm.
long as people are divided on it, then it's not solid proof. And the
No,
government
it's
walks away going, haha, see what we created. You know what I
mhm,
mean? I can send somebody in there to say, hey, I'm Hiroshima and I was the guy that was in this suit. See what I'm
mhm,
saying? And create a different narrative. You see what I'm saying? So now you have two narratives. Some people are automatically going to believe one, some people are going to automatically believe the other. So now you have conflict. And now disrupted that whole piece of evidence just by creating conflict. You know what I mean? So any of this stuff that comes out, I don't, there's a lot of theories. There's a lot of theories about what happened that day and stuff like that. Um, I don't want to really get into it because it would be a very heated, passionate discussion on
Mhm.
that, and I don't want to spend that much time on the Patterson Gimlin film. But I take that clip, okay, and sometimes you can get the longer version and just watch that. Just focus strictly on that. See what I'm saying? And that's what people need to base their opinion on. Looking at that footage and stuff like that. Um, like I said, MK, he spent a lot of time, a lot of years on this one piece of footage,
mhm,
and he's broke it down a million times to one. How everything, um, but that's looking at it as a photograph. See what I'm saying? I'm more geared into the science. I want to see the science, and that's where I said, you take MK's, and then you take Meldrum, and then you take this person or this or anybody that broke it down. You put it all together, and it's pretty obvious this thing was real. I think this thing was absolutely real, and it's probably the greatest footage out there.
mhm.
It's always going to be number one. It's held number one since 1967. I think
It's the
it'll.
most studied, that's for sure.
It's withstand time. It's just withstand time. It's still there. If it's still in discussion today, then that tells you the importance of that video because it's still being discussed to this day. And
There's
but
just
again,
still there's still so much. There's just so much. I mean, that's the reason I left it before I come back and helped Icebox. My mind was done. I was done content. I know they're there. I know they're out there.
Mhm.
But I mean, there's just so much inner fighting in this mess. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got a group here, you've got a group there, you've got a group over here. That's fine. I mean, that's what life's about. You do your thing if that's what you want to do. But I mean, till we all come together and look at this stuff here, we're all going to have different opinions, different aspects. Everybody's going to have a different look at it. I just think we're spinning our wheels sometimes, still spinning our wheels
well,
60 years later.
do you know
Mhm,
what is the basis of that, Waylon? Do you know what causes most of that? The
Money.
researchers themselves. You want me to tell you why the researchers themselves, why they're a part of that? Is because the problem with researchers is they don't want to say, I don't know.
Oh yeah.
mhm,
Biggest problem. If somebody comes to me and says, hey, Rick, do you think this, and this? I don't know. I have no problem saying, I don't know.
Oh
mhm.
See,
yeah.
Me either.
I have absolutely zero issue saying, I don't know because I'm no expert. And the problem is a lot of these researchers out there, they're going to give you a theory, present it as fact, no matter how far-fetched it is, because they're so pride gets to them and they don't want to say, I don't know. See what I'm saying? And when these guys start coming out with these crazy things, UFOs or orbs, whatever it should be, whatever, it creates that problem. Now it creates that argument. Now it creates diversity. When you could have ended it right off the bat by saying, I don't know. I don't know. Like Fox have spoken about it. What about tracks that just disappear? Okay. Well, they don't just disappear. Okay. The problem is the person tracking them lost the tracks. I've done it. I'm not a tracker. I'm not a great tracker. I have to have a certain substrate, a certain, texture and everything for me to continuously follow prints. Me and Jimmy have found a couple of times where we found what we feel is a trackway, but we can only follow it for so long. Jimmy and Bobby has also found trackways. You can only follow it so long and you lose it. That doesn't mean it went into a portal or vanished into a UFO or turned into an orb. It means you lost the track. Substate changed. The behavior of the creature changed. It was going in this direction, but all of a sudden it jumped. That's a feasible thing. It jumped. You've been following prints that are 4 feet apart, 4 feet apart, 4 feet apart. All of a sudden now it's 15 feet apart, but you don't know that. See what I'm saying? You think it just up and disappeared and stopped, but it didn't. What if it climbed a tree? What if it climbed a tree to get something up there and then it went over to this tree and got something over there and then went over to this tree, and then when he finally came down, he's 20 yards over here now and he started walking again? You don't know. People say, well, it was in the middle of a field and it just stopped. Nobody has ever shown me that proof. Nobody's ever shown me that proof. Nobody has ever shown me a trackway and then it just stopped. And then it's 50 yards, 60 yards to the end of the field. Nobody has ever produced that. They tell you this is what happened. They never produce the receipts. They never show you photographs or video of what they just explained to you. Not one time. Not once has it happened. They just tell you it in their story. I was tracking this thing and all of a sudden it just stopped and I couldn't find it. Okay, so show the video footage because you're not videotaping a Sasquatch. You're video footprints. So that's a very easy thing to do. Take some photographs, take some videos, get some size measurements, different things, show the length, show all the science, everything, document everything, and show where it stopped. See what I'm saying? Now go 20 yards past that and see if they show up again. See what I'm saying? You don't know. We can't just go by somebody's story. You know what I mean? Let's back it up with something. Let's just back it up with something. I found a great print a couple months back in the swamps, and it was fresh. I'm talking moments fresh. Okay, where this was an area no person should have been in. I wasn't even supposed to be in there. I had to jump a fence to get into this area of the swamp. Okay, so I go in there. I'm with somebody else. I go in there. We find a print that is so fresh. As I'm filming it, it's filling full of water from where it walked in the swamp. It's slowly filling full of water. It wasn't already full of water. It was filling. And I'm filming it as it's doing that. So when you see the video from beginning to end, you see this thing slowly, progressively have more and more water in it. I measured it and everything. I measured all the width, the length, everything. See what I'm saying? But it was only one print. Only found one print. Perfect footprint. But only found one print. I knew what direction it was going, but I only found one print. Where did it go? I don't know. I don't know. See what I'm saying? That's the easiest answer I can give you.
Yeah, well, you know what strikes me in that statement? You were so close to having a daylight sighting if you were that way.
I walked up and I missed this thing. It probably hurt us climbing over that fence to get over there. At that point, it got out of there. But it was definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, perfect footprint. It was, like I said, it was filling full of water. I was just that close again, just that close. So
It's just hard for me to believe that a 1,000 pound, 10 foot tall animal can swing around in the trees and no damn body can see it or hear it.
Mm-hmm.
well, it's one of those things. If it's they're all theories. I personally don't believe they climb trees either. I think they do when they're young. Even gorillas will take their young and put them in a tree so while they go do something else. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? I think the young would. I don't think a grown adult would. I really don't. You know what I mean? But I think that if you can get a guy in, college senior running track and field, and he's doing the long jump, and he's what 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 6'6", tall guy, and he's fast, he's muscular, and you see how far they can jump, and then you take something that's 7 foot, 8 foot, and a lot more muscular. How far can it jump? You see what I'm saying? What changed the pattern was it went down on all fours? You know what I mean? There's so
Yeah.
many things that can change the terrain and change the tracking. Of course, standing upright, it's a lot more weight on two limbs. But if you drop down to four, you distribute in that weight a lot more evenly among four limbs. So maybe it's less impression. You know what I mean? Don't know. See what I'm saying?
Well,
That's
MK said something when I was talking to him. Uh, there again, I always keep saying you ought to be part of the conversation before the show and after the show. It's amazing. But I was talking to him, and I think somebody asked a question about the footprints, and he said you would not believe what a Bigfoot could do to manipulate his footprints. So they have many tricks in their sleeve. And talking to Johnny Two Bears just the other day, when he said they dropped down to all fours, and how he ran that way, that it was like frog leaping. He would, if I
right.
remember right, how he would bring their legs together and all this and that kind of stuff. Amazing stuff.
Jumps like that, and it's flat in the air, and then it comes together and jumps again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, you got to look at it. If you break it down, how much would a 10 foot Sasquatch weigh? A human being probably 10 feet tall. I mean, the average. Some people would estimate 300 or 400 pounds, 500 pounds. They said 7 feet tall. Hulk Hogan said he weighed over 600 pounds when he wrestled him at WrestleMania.
Hmm.
So I mean, some people. I mean, these things are so much bigger than us and so much thicker than us. And I mean, it's just a guesstimation. But what do you think a 10 foot tall Sasquatch would weigh, Richard? What do you think, just off the top of your head? How much?
Uh, 1,200 to 2,000 pounds.
Exactly.
And here's how I come across that. I live in cattle country. You take a regular cow, a beef cow here, and you stood that cow on its hind legs, it's going to stand anywhere from 8 to 10 feet tall. Cows are very large.
Yeah.
It weighs anywhere from 1,200 to 2,000 pounds, and it only eats grass.
Yeah.
I got a
It's all
question.
it's all about
There you
metabolism.
There it is, Icebox. We talked about that. Discuss it.
Which one? The one that's on there now?
How they keep their weight. They don't have to. That's just their size. That's the way it is.
Well, all right, let me ask you a simple question. How much does a full-grown male lion weigh? How much does it weigh?
They're huge. I didn't realize how big a full-grown lion was until I went to a zoo and
Hmm.
stood one. And you're like, holy crap, you wouldn't stand a chance with this thing.
A
So
Oh no.
gorilla. You're looking at the gorilla. He's around over 400 pounds. The
Hmm.
lion's going. The lion's going to be bumping 500 easy.
A full-grown.
I would think so. Probably. I've never hunted them. I've never broke it down. But if I was guessing, I'd say 450 or more. A grown one.
I mean, I'm not good at guessing weight. Ask my ex-wife. But I would probably say at least 300 pounds.
How many?
They're
So at least 300 pounds for an adult lion, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
But like the ones I'm seeing at the zoo are probably better fed than the ones on the Saharan desert. You know what I mean?
oh
So
All right. The reason I bring that up, uh, I got to thinking about me and Wedding was talking not too long ago, and we'll bring that other part up about the metabolism here in a minute, Waylon. Uh, nobody everybody likes to go to the zoo. And this is way Waylon put it to me. Everybody likes to go to the zoo, but nobody wants to get in the cages.
That's right.
You know, and I got to thinking about that when I went to the zoo. Me and my wife went not too long ago. Uh, I sat there and watched a full-grown male. Of course, it was laid up in the shade on a piece of concrete wall right next to where the windows are, and it had like three different windows you could see. I got to the very far one, and I looked at the paw, just the back paw of that thing. My goodness, my hand. Yeah, look at Wade's. I mean, huge
I got big
paws.
hands. I've got big hands, but there's nothing to it. I mean,
It was, yeah, you're right. It's nothing to it. The size of it all, just, I mean, that's what I was flabbergasted about. Not just the size of the animal itself, just its paws. I could not imagine paws like that grabbing hold of me. Yeah, I don't care how strong I think you are or anybody else, that you could, bear the weight and the pressure that this animal could create. I'm like, my goodness gracious, it's just pitiful. As far as that goes. All right, let's say they were 300 pounds. A full grown,
yeah, they're gonna go. They're gonna
yeah,
go for. They're gonna go 400, 450 full grown all day long if they're fed right and got the right nutrition.
okay, all right. Now, I would have to say that a full grown, it doesn't have to be an alpha male, okay, but a full grown male Sasquatch has to be at least double,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, or at least a quarter more weight. So if we're going 300 and 400 pounds, and you're talking about just a single male Sasquatch, a beta, not an alpha. So we're looking now at what, 7, 8 feet tall. Just add on a quarter more. So you're going 300 and 400 pounds. You're looking at 500 and 600 pounds easily. Easily. That's not going to get in no trees. Not the branches. Branches are not going to hold that much kind of weight up as an adult. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
I mean, I'm not a huge guy. I'm 5'10", 215 pounds,
Yeah.
and um, I'd be very leery on what branch I put my weight on.
Got
Hmm.
that right. You got that right.
And as far as the musculars, and this was a subject that me and Wendy got on not too long ago. Uh, they don't have to have, quote, meat every day.
No,
You know,
no.
look at bears. They're getting by on berries and nuts and herbs, or let's say herbs, roots. Every now and then they might have a meat kill, but most of the time it's fish. And they know when that season comes in, and all this is to fatten up. That's all it is. It's just to fatten up so they can get in their hibernation, and they come out. They're still big. They're hungry, but they're still big. Uh, a Sasquatch,
Right. And you're talking berries and fruit or whatever, but it's about metabolism.
yeah,
Exactly.
How do they digest and use those proteins for their mass, in comparison to us? Because I'm telling you right now, if I ate nothing but fruits and vegetables every single day, I wouldn't be able to maintain 215 pounds.
I'd be that little.
But yet they do. They'll maintain.
I, I wrote that wrong.
Uh-huh. I see. I see. Let's see here. I'm sorry for the delay, guys. Like I said, guys, this is our show. Ask any questions you want to. We'll answer it the best we know how. Uh, so you're saying you lose a track. Do you know it's full grown? You totally missed the point.
Yeah.
Okay. If you lose tracks, here's something I kind of wondered about. All right, let's say it's snowing. Okay. Whatever part of the country you're in, and you get a good, I know, Richard, you wouldn't have this kind of a problem much. But let's say you could follow the tracks of a Bigfoot through a snow. How far do you think you could follow it?
Forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
Until what?
Yeah,
And I've
sure.
spoken on chats with different researchers that are up north, and they say that they can follow these tracks for miles.
Yep.
Until they're not catching up to this thing, so they give up. See what I'm saying? They're not running into them disappearing. See what I'm saying? We've seen those videos where people, have videotaped the mountainsides and showing a trackway going around the mountain, going on and on and on and on and on. See what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I think I think snow is probably the best option, you know what I
It is.
mean, to track these things. You can't beat a substrate like that. You know what I mean? Now,
Yep.
what would change it is if it walks into the forest and as snow falls off trees, it could easily cover their tracks. Or it starts snowing again. It's going to cover the tracks and you're going to
Yep.
lose them. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But as far as just up and disappearing and just non-existent, I don't think that's going to happen. Not in the snow.
I'm gonna have to say this because it's on my mind. We keep saying it's possible to jump to the tree. It probably could.
Sure.
I would love to see how far one could jump. Let me get
Sure.
that off there. Like this spider theory, I think we need to hit that. Uh, I still feel like they can jump a long ways. I've seen sitting there and watch videos, and I have to say it's kind of more legit than I would think fake, just simply by the distance per step that it covered up a hillside, pretty much that a billy goat would have trouble getting onto. Uh, you know what I mean? It's just like long strides and going straight up or almost sideways. Uh, but you see where I'm going with this? It looks like it could really be easy uh, to lose tracks. Very easy,
Think
especially
about
if you don't have snow. If you get under a rock, if you don't know how to read rocks when weight is on it,
Like
I
I
can see
said,
why
like
you lose track.
I
Go
have
ahead.
lost tracks. I have lost tracks, but it's because the substrate changed. All of a sudden, the substrate changed, and I'm not a professional tracker. I can't. I'm not one of these guys that can track something through different substrates for long periods of time. See what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So I lost the tracks. The tracks didn't disappear. I lost the tracks because the substrate changed and I didn't know how to track them in that particular environment. See what I'm saying? You know,
Mhm.
20 feet over, 10 feet or 10 yards over, it was a different substrate. But now they've entered, for example, you go into, yeah, if a Bigfoot decided to walk down a trail, there's a high probability he may leave a footprint. But then all of a sudden he veers off and he goes into a pine forest and it is nothing but pine needles on the ground. You're not
Exactly.
through there. See what I'm saying? Very difficult, very difficult.
It is
And some
very
of the
difficult.
very difficult. And some of the places I go into, we're looking at 3 to 4 inches of leaf cover on the ground,
Yep.
and that's sponges. That's sponges. So
Yep.
once it enters those areas, very difficult. Very very difficult.
Let me
Think
let me.
about go ahead, Tommy. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Will.
Go ahead, Icebox. I mean, think about these guys filming these Sasquatches on the side of these mountains going up. I mean, our bodies, we can only go up so high, and then we have to have portable oxygen on our back.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah,
Okay, these things are going up these ridges. We don't know these guys are filming them, and when further up you go, we know the thinner the air gets.
Hmm.
So once again, like I said a while ago, there's one of their abilities that they can just keep on trucking, and we not gonna keep on trucking. We gonna
right,
die. We gonna
Hmm.
die
right.
Or
And
give
and
out for quick.
yeah,
quick.
you can jump on something like that because that would be considered a natural ability.
Yeah,
Naturally, they've adapted to that environment. It's the same with the Sherpas. Okay,
yeah.
there's Sherpas that hold world records on going on Mount Everest. They don't take any gear. It's like an initiation where they run up this mountain and back. You see what I'm saying? I couldn't do that. You couldn't do that. We don't have the lung capacity. We have to have a certain level of oxygen in our system to be able to do that. The Sherpa do not. You see what I'm saying? They've adapted, naturally adapted to that environment. I think that's where a lot of the abilities that a Sasquatch has is natural abilities based on the environments that they're in. See what I'm saying? Um, yeah, like I said, like that was a good point because we've all seen videos where these things are going up a mountain without missing a beat. They're not slowing down. They're just going up the mountain like it's a Sunday stroll where we would painstakingly try to get up that. You know what I mean? A prime example: Talladega, 32-degree incline on that turn. Have you ever watched people try to walk up a 32-degree incline and these race cars are going around it at 200 miles per hour? They're struggling. They're losing their shoes trying to walk up this embankment. See what I'm saying? But yet you see these videos of this creature going up this thing like it's no problem, and that shows, like you said, a better lung capacity, better availability of processing oxygen and muscle mass. You know, and they're able to get up these mountains a lot easier than a human being could.
Oh yeah, it's pretty amazing when you watch it and you think about it. And we don't even know how thick the snow is. I mean,
Right,
it may be 3 or 4 feet thick. We can't even walk through that without snowshoes. We
right.
can't.
Well, and that brings up another point: is he's tolerant of cold.
Yeah,
He's not losing digits due to frostbite.
yeah. I mean, there's just so many amazing things they can do that we can't do. Of course, they're used to it because they're in that environment every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We could probably do some of that stuff if we were to, but the thin air would probably get us quicker than anything, more than likely, out of all the stuff we talked about.
Oh,
Because,
absolutely.
yeah, it's a dangerous situation the higher you go, but
I watched
it's
a,
just it's amazing. It really is.
I watched a documentary one time of this child that they found in the woods. Like a modern day Tarzan. And when they captured the child and brought him back to civilization, this child had never worn clothes, never it stayed outside. It lived amongst the animals and stuff like that. And the lady, when they were trying to basically domesticate this child again, it reached into a pot of boiling water to get a potato and was unaffected by the heat. Wintertime, the child would walk in the snow and everything barefoot and was impervious to cold because it became adapted to its natural environment when it was living on its own. See what I'm saying? Um, I think creatures and people and Sasquatch and all these things had that capability of adjusting to their environment. That was a prime example, and that's a documented case. I mean, psychologists, everybody, was working on this child to get this child back to being normal. You know what I mean? It never was 100% normal. It said, it never really grasped onto full speech and stuff like that. You know, um, you know, but it was something that was from the wild. It became feral. It was a feral human. So
We would never be able, not even if we started now, to be able to adapt to go up a mountainside like they can.
yeah.
I mean, it's just it's unreal. I've sent Icebox several videos of those guys, taping them, video them going up that mountainside, and they
Hmm.
just go up through there like it's a Sunday stroll. It's one of the most amazing things that I've actually seen them do. Really, I mean, throw rocks, throw trees, but going up those mountainsides and living in that thin air and doing what they do, they just that blows my mind really because we can't do it. We
Yeah.
can't do it.
Well, you also got to consider your environment, like you said earlier. Uh, Somebody gets used to something. Bigfoot. There are different species of Bigfoot. Okay, these that are walking around in snow and ice and cold environments. Yeah, they toughen up. You walk around without shoes, give it about a couple of months, your feet are going to be tough as all get out. Impervious to
Right.
rocks and stuff like that. Do people get still cut? Sure they do. But anyways, what I'm trying to get at, Bigfoot down in the south, especially Florida, they might not have as much hair. They may be a totally different species. It's everything's going to move to where it can survive. Those that can survive. Somebody said, "What's the difference between a Yeti and a Sasquatch?"
Location.
In locations,
That's
yeah,
that's it. That's all.
yeah. What's the difference between a Bigfoot down south and Pacific?
Well, let's put it this way: how many different species of human are there?
Bunch
Several.
of us. Bunch
Yeah.
of us.
People don't look at us as different species, but we are. I can take different blood types and put them in front of you without telling you who they came from. And science can tell me that this came from an African American, this one came from
Mhm.
Asian, this one came from Caucasian. They can tell those things. Why? Because they're different species of human. We're all human. It's just different species of human, different types. Bone structures are different. Muscle mass is different. You take an Asian, they're smaller statute,
Yep.
compared to, a Russian, let's say, bulkier, bigger, stronger, whatever. Um, they're different, and it's based on location. It's based on environment. It's based on, you know, what are the needs of the human body in that area than it is versus that area. See what I'm saying? So, like the Sherpa, better lung capacity for
Hmm.
higher altitudes versus, um, the Alaskans that can deal with, super cold weather. So I think they're all the same. I think it's just there's some variations due to environment. A skunk ape, I think, is a lot smaller. I think, I would probably say if you saw one over 7 feet tall, that would probably be an exception to the rule. Seeing something 12, 15 foot tall, I just think is unheard of and probably not correct. Probably
Well,
misidentified.
let me kind of express my theory on that one. It should be common thing, but I believe it's like this. Pacific Northwest, I believe they're bigger, they're stronger, and that's just how they're made up there. Okay, the further south you go, such into like Texas and through the Rockies and uh, down into like Alabama, Louisiana, you're starting to get changes. It's where your skunk apes are starting to come in. Um, as you go south, they start to get a little bit smaller in size. That's why most of the time when you hear of reports down here, they're 7, 8 foot tall. Females maybe 6 foot to 7 foot tall, maybe. Juveniles is still quite big, 5, 6 feet tall, maybe. And as you start going up north, they get a little bit bigger. Such as the Ohio grassman and anywhere else. That's just my theory. That's the way I
Well,
think. Different species.
theory. Science proves it. The closer a species gets to the equator, the smaller they get.
Yeah.
The
Yep.
further away from the equator, the larger you get. So when you look at deer or because everybody talks about, Florida deer, they're tiny, well, they're just thinner. They don't have the body fat that a northern deer would have because they don't need that insulation when you got a heat index of 120 degrees outside. See what I'm saying? So that's the variation. You know what I mean? That's the variation. It's the higher you go.
Now, what do you mean by that, Stephen? 420. I need.
Weed,
We,
Oh,
420 smoking weed.
Lord, Stephen.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure I'm sure. I know they know what it is. They have to know.
Well, yeah.
Well, they don't have fire, so they're not smoking it.
No,
The-
they're not smoking it.
right.
No,
But they do know how to make brownies, though, right?
they might. Yeah, they might.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
like
Lordy.
It was like the story. It was a story like I told Icebox about the lady that ran into him in Australia. She ran into him on the beach. She had no idea they were at the beach, and she ran up on them. And the male and the female were in the ocean pulling the seaweed up, rubbing it all over them, rubbing seaweed all over themselves.
Yep, I remember
And
that.
we never, that was on Sasquatch Chronicles. Everybody knows Wes, I'm sure. I've talked to Wes a few times. He's a good guy, and but
yeah,
they're at the ocean pulling up seaweed, rubbing seaweed all over them, but we don't know why they're rubbing the seaweed all over them.
right.
But they know why they're rubbing it all over them. They know what it's for, but we don't know what it's for. But
So that's what I'm saying earlier with the snake bites. Do they have municipal ways of taking care of snake bites? You know what I mean? We don't know. We don't know.
Don't
You
know.
know.
And
But
I,
like one made the comment earlier about how they look different. Some look like this. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of things that play into that. Like I said, Asian people look different than Caucasian people. Caucasian people look different than African people. It's really location. Where are you from? But two, and me and you brought this up. We were talking about it earlier. Is inbreeding. I think inbreeding plays a part in how they look. Like I said, we have an area that is 90,000 acres. It's a huge, huge wilderness area. And it is completely cut off. There is no way out of it, period. You're in that 90,000 acres. That's your life. That's it. You're not going any further than that. Okay. There's just no way out of it. Without being caught, without being seen, you have to stay in that 90,000 acres. So if you're a family unit or multiple family unit or whatever, and you're in that 90,000 acres and you have been there for the last 50 years or 100 years, and you're going to be there for the next 50 years or 100 years, inbreeding is going to fall into place at some point. You're going to continue that population. You're going to continue to try to survive. Then inbreeding is going to have to play a part in that. And I think that has a lot to do with facial characteristics, maybe foot characteristics, different things like that. You might see a group that all look the same. They just all resemble each other. That could be inbreeding, not so much as, that species looks like that. You know what I mean? But again, it's a theory. You know what I mean? But I know a location where multiple researchers go to this location. We've been out there a couple times and ran into other researchers in this area. It's a very viable area, absolutely very viable area. But they're, like I said, they're cut off from the rest. They can't even travel to another forest to get away. See what I'm saying? They're trapped. So now, granted, it's not easy to find them because it's still 90,000 acres, and a lot of it is really rugged area to get to, really rugged. I think as many times we've been out there, I don't think we've covered 1% of that 90,000 acres. That's also the location where I had my very, very first encounter. It's a huge area. They're there. There's not a shadow of a doubt. They're there. See what I'm saying? But like I said, they're not going anywhere. They're just not going anywhere.
All right, let me switch gears on you a little bit. I had a statement up there earlier. I don't know if I can get to it real quick or not. But anyway, spider crawl. What do you think about spider crawls?
I've never experienced it. So let's put it this way. There's researchers that I respect without a shadow of a doubt, period. And there's a handful of people I've met in my life that can come up to me and say probably the most outrageous things in the world, and I would believe them instantly because I know them, I know their character, I know their history. And people like Johnny Two Bears tells me that this thing was crawling on all fours and stuff like that. Instantly believe it. Instantly believe him. You know what I mean? Because he's not a bullshitter. He's going to tell you straight, like, this is what it is. This is how it is. You know what I mean? On my first encounter, when me and Carrie Arnold were sitting there talking about my encounter and going over it and stuff like that, and we were sitting there talking, he said, there's the likelihood this thing was on all four. That's why I didn't see it when it yelled at me. Well, that brings a whole new level of fear. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because these things can crawl up on me, and I not see them. So,
Well, here's the deal with spider crawl with me. Why would you want a spider crawl? It could be for concealment. It could be for all kinds of things. And it's not so far-fetched to me that something this muscular, even though it is big, its muscles is going to be able to support itself even in a spider crawl. We humans do it, but it's not as well as far as that goes. We can't do it like they can. We can do it backwards all day long, but come on forwards, no. Okay, Stephen, glad you come tonight, bud. Glad you come. But it just don't, for me, it doesn't make much sense to spider crawl unless there's a purpose behind it. I'm not saying that they can't do it. I'm not saying that at all. It's just kind of hard to fathom without seeing them actually doing it.
Well, I think it's like you said, I think a lot has to do with concealment. I think a lot has to do with maybe a hunting technique. A lot of animals, you've seen a big cat, all of a sudden they crouch down and they're still able to move forward on this very low crouch position. Now, would you call that a spider crawl? Possibly.
I would actually.
But they lower themselves below the terrain, below the grass, below the bushes, below everything, so they can sneak up closer. See what I'm saying? It could be that. It just could be a way that, hey, I need to get across here. I need to get over here without being seen. See what I'm saying? So
Could it be also a predator crawl?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. It could be used for hunting. Oh yeah. Sneaking up on something. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. But
if
I would
you're
say they would probably be more two legs than anything, anyways. But yeah, I have to. I could see that.
you're
Go ahead.
10 feet, if you're 10 feet tall and weigh 1,000 pounds, you can do whatever the hell you want to do.
Right.
All right, all right, Richard. How much further you want to go? You still good?
Oh yeah, I'm good.
Okay. V says they use their knuckles when they do this. Okay, guys, I'm gonna do this one more time, and then I'm gonna quit posting this. Uh, there's a link if you want to come on the show. You want to try to voice an opinion. You don't have to come on camera, but you're more than welcome to. This is for you guys. We're trying to go off what questions you are asking. And if you don't ask any, we will just shift gears on you. V says she thinks, or he, I don't know what V is, may use their knuckles when they do this. And that's very possible because I would think you would see deep fingerprints. Of course, the substrate would, I don't think it would allow it and they would get more tired that way. They've probably got a good point there.
Well, gorillas do it on their knuckles, but I think it's whatever the substrate allows. You know what I mean? It could be open-handed. It could be. I think even like us. You know, when I was in the military and you're doing push-ups, sometimes your hands get tired, so you'll go to your knuckles. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You'll do it for a
Sure.
little bit to give your hand a rest, and then you open your hands again. It could be a multiple. It could be anything, really. You know what I mean? I'm not. Yeah, I'm open to the possibility that it could be a number of different ways.
Okay.
Well,
All
I
right.
looked at
Go ahead, Wayne.
only thing that this is another thing I scratch my head about in Icebox to tell you. Some people say that these wood knocks they're hauling off and either just ramming the tree with their fist or they're cupping their hand and popping that tree with their hand. If they're able to do that, I mean, it blows my mind. Can you imagine how tough and how strong they really are if they're doing that with their
Mhm.
hand on a tree that's green and making that sound? You can hear it from miles away.
Yeah.
I mean, my theory is it comes out of their mouth. I mean, I don't know. I've always said they make the popping sound with their mouth. Most people are telling me they take their fist and
Mhm.
do
Well,
it.
I lean towards it being more of a natural way of making it. Not Sasquatch is not yet to be seen walking through the woods carrying a stick everywhere it goes. Okay, um, we've done that. We've talked to different people. We put ourselves in that scenario. If you're in the woods and I say, um, icebox right now, go into the woods, find a stick and hit a tree. How
Done
long
that.
will it take to find a stick
Yeah.
that's viable enough to hit a tree? Then find a tree that gives you a good solid wood knock with that said stick that you found. It's going to take a minute. It's going to take a minute
Yeah.
for you to. Okay,
Yeah.
they're not
Yeah.
readily
Right.
available everywhere, and Sasquatch isn't walking around with a stick in his hand. Okay, I think they do it naturally with their mouth, with their hands, with their chest. There's a natural way. Don't know which one it is yet, but I think it's a natural way because when you hear a wood knock, we call it a wood knock because I don't think we have a better term yet. Okay,
Right. What it
just like
sounds like.
I heard a knock. Right, we call it a wood knock because it sounds like a wood knock, but is it necessarily wood hitting wood? We don't know. Okay,
Mhm.
but I watched the gorillas one time. I do a lot of the stuff. I'll go back and watch gorilla videos to see that behavior because they're another great ape like we are. And when they do that quick chest beat, watch what they do with their mouth. Their mouth is always open. It's always open. So I think when they're hitting that
Yeah.
and that percussion comes out, they're projecting it. See what I'm saying? Because their
Mhm.
mouth, okay?
They have air sacs. It's what they. If you'll do your you know they fill those air sacs up with air, and then when they fill
Yeah.
them up with air, he'll open his mouth and you'll hear him go. That's the air sac. He's letting the air out. They have air sacs. A lot of people don't really know that
Well,
that they have air sacs, but they
a
do.
lot of people don't know that gorillas secrete an odor. They have glands that secrete an odor.
Yeah.
And we hear about Sasquatch. That's one of the questions I used to ask all the time in the beginning. I'd say, um, did you smell anything? No, I didn't smell anything. You'd be surprised how many people saw a Sasquatch or a skunk ape and never smelt anything. It
Right.
happens a lot. Well, it comes to now create a theory. Why are some people smelling it and some people are not? Well, are they secreting it purposely as a defense mechanism to say, get away, I'm here, go away? Or maybe it's a scent to attract a female. See what I'm saying? Yeah, we don't know, but it's not all the time. They're not smelling this thing all the time, but like a gorilla, maybe they have that ability to have these glands that secrete that smell.
And I'm just gonna say this and throw it out there. Whatever you say, it smelt like death or something rotten or something like that. Okay, what I'm thinking is it maybe ate some garbage from the night before. Uh, Anything, bad breath, whatever you want to call it. I don't know about the glands yet, but I can really get into the fact that garbage eating or you ate a dead animal and it's still on your breath. They got guts that we don't have that can digest. They're about like billy goats. You know what I'm saying?
You're talking about a creature that probably does not take a bath on a regular basis.
Exactly. But
I,
now, does it?
I
If it
think
smells like a skunk, it just got sprayed recently. That's
right.
all I can think of.
4 days and not showered for 4 days while I'm camping until I get home from my expedition, and I'm pretty ripe. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm with you, I'm gonna say, yeah, I slept with Sasquatch last night.
No, you would say, yeah, you're a little skunky.
All right. What about this, guys? Like I said, we are driven by the chat room tonight. Have you guys heard if they chattered their teeth or teeth clacking?
I had it a long time, a couple years ago. Me, Jimmy, and Mike, and another guy named Matt was with us. We were in this one location, and I was walking about, I don't know, 20 yards ahead of them filming. And I got to this one part. There was a canal to my left, a very wooded canal. And I heard what sounded like 2 rocks going smack, just fast, smacking, you know? I don't know if it was teeth or was it rocks, but there was something clacking. And it sounded like 2 rocks to me, just 2 rocks being rapidly smacked together really fast, you know? Um, at that point, I told the guys, I was waving at the guys to stop, but they were so busy talking to each other, they weren't looking at me, trying to tell them to stop. So by the time they caught up to me and I was able to talk to them, it stopped. You know what I mean? But other than that, I haven't heard anything since then. I know a lot of people talk about teeth chattering, and bears do that. Bears will do that, as a defense mechanism to tell you to get away. So.
Now I have heard of the rock clacking. I don't know how true that is. That's something I have not heard of yet, as far as out in the woods.
They call it a bear. What we used to call it. We had a tracker with us. What did he call that? He had a word a word that they call what the bear. We call it chopping, but they got another word for it, and I can't think of it. I'm sorry. I'll think of it in a minute. But that's what they call it. A bear will go to chopping on you when you get so close on him. And but there's another big word I can't remember it. I'm sorry.
It's okay. All right. Let's go with evidence. Okay. What would you consider as evidence that would prove something to you, and what would prove something to a skeptic?
Well, I think the most important, when we look at evidence, if you look at all the evidence that's been collected since the 1950s, okay, footprints, handprints, vocalizations, structures, hair, I mean, the list goes on. There is enough evidence today to convict somebody. If it was evidence against Icebox, we could convict you on the evidence that we have. See what I'm saying? But yet, when you change the name from Icebox to Sasquatch, all of a sudden that evidence is no good. See what But there is enough evidence. I asked Jeff Meldrum at the Ocala Bigfoot conference last year. I went right up to him and I asked him, his opinion, and he said there is enough evidence that warrants further investigation, and money needs to be spent. See what I'm saying? He's that this thing exists. There's enough evidence that proves that it exists. But I think out of all of it, the most important evidence is prints. I think footprints are the most important.
I wonder how true that statement is right there.
Well,
For
so
some people that only consider it evidence if it's on TV.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of researchers out there. There's a lot of researchers out there. And and so far you only see very small percentage of them on television.
Oh, I know.
Very
exactly.
small percentage. See what I'm
I,
saying? You
I've got a
gotta
buddy. Go
I
ahead.
go to these conferences and stuff, and I've been to conferences where these TV researchers are there. They're there for entertainment. Okay. There's
Mhm.
the programmers, the TV, the sponsors, all that, they're trying to make money. Okay. So I don't really focus on those researchers' evidence because it's all about ratings. It's all about money and stuff like that. But you give me this researcher that's been walking through the woods, in Georgia for the last 10 years researching and stuff, and I'm going to listen to him. I'm going to listen to what he's uncovered and what he's found, because there's nothing in it for him. See what I'm saying? There's
Right.
nothing, you know. I do this every weekend, week in, week out, and try to find as much evidence as I can. And I don't get paid for this. I don't make a dime if I'm on Icebox's, podcast. Because if I am, you owe me a lot of money, Icebox. But I get paid for it.
You're one broke SOB now.
I have a YouTube channel, but I don't monetize. I'm not ever going to monetize ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm self-funded. See what I'm saying?
Yep.
So
So am I.
nothing in it. There's no reason to lie or hoax or be on television or anything like that. See what I'm saying? I have no skin in the game other than I like to be out there. It's a mystery. Um, I like to see myself as a modern day explorer. Sometimes I go in these woods and I'm walking out there going, when was the last time a person stepped foot in this exact spot? See what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Hmm.
It could have been 100 years from now. It could have been 200 years ago. I don't know. But it makes me feel good about myself when I'm out there going, wow, I'm an explorer. I'm out there exploring, trying to find answers. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be one of these guys that sits in a computer, sits all day, or I'm a researcher because you read an article or you did this and this and this. I tell on my channel, I tell my guys all the time, I always promote, get out there, man. Get out there, get in the woods, walk those woods, hike, camp, fish, do it all, enjoy nature because there's some things out there that are unexplainable. And it's amazing when you experience those things. It's life changing. It's life changing, you know, but you're not going to have it from the house.
No, and I have to say this: if you really, really want to know, you got to get off the couch, go off. I'm gonna say like the Salt Fork uh, little adventure I just had. You're out there in the woods where there's a possibility, whether it happens or not. But you put yourself in there where you have a chance, a possibility. I've heard a story from you, Richard, of you being out there by yourself with one rubbing a tent and trying to run off with your cooler.
Right.
You know, you know, if you don't get out there, it's hard for me to sit here and say, okay, you don't believe in Bigfoot. Have you been out there? Have you put yourself in a position
Yep.
to be out there? You can do it at least once or twice a year. You're now telling me that, okay, I went out there personally and sat down and experienced what these folks are going through in the best possible way outside of some happenstance meeting, I'm going to say, a sighting. Okay, that's happenstance. It just doesn't happen every day. You know what I'm saying? But if you want some evidence or if you really want to put yourself in that position, get out there.
If you're somebody that does not go in the woods and you now change that and you went out once a year, you just bettered your odds
Yeah.
because now you got out there once. So if you get out there twice, you increase your odds. You get out there 3 times. Every time you go out, you're increasing your odds. I tell people all the time, it's a numbers game. I get out there every single week.
Mhm.
Every You know what I mean? Sometimes I got to force myself to get motivated to get out there. It's 100 degrees outside. It's hot. The mosquitoes eat me up or whatever reason. You know what I mean? But I force myself to get out there because I know that every time I go out there, I better my chances. Okay.
Mhm.
And in the length of time I've been doing it, I've been lucky enough to have some experiences. See what I'm saying? But I'm still looking for that 1 10-second video. But I'm not going to get it sitting at home. I've got to get out there. I've got to do it, and I've got to get out there. That's just the always the end story every day is Rick, get up and get out there.
I wished Old Bear was on here. I don't know if he is. Old Bear, if you are out there, let me know. Uh, but we went up there with him, and some things went on that I have questions about. I really do. And it's not so much questions, but it would be better because he could back me up on the discussion that I would have. So I wished he was on here, but anyways, I don't see him on. But there were some things that happened out there that I'm curious about, and there's one that I videoed. I don't know how well it turns out, uh, but when I get it put together, I'll broadcast it out there and show you people what questions I do have. But I would not have gained that experience on top of other stuff. I used to work for the BFRO. I took stories, whether they were true or whether they wasn't, and investigated. I mean, I've talked to county deputies, I've talked to fishermen, I've talked to several people, and actually had experiences that I just can't explain away while I was there. So if anybody will sit here behind the computer, be a keyboard warrior or whatever they want to be, get out there. Come on, just like Waylon said, you know, don't just go to the petting zoo. Get in the cage with us, and see what you come up with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's the same.
Quit chasing your tail.
You know, I think one of the biggest skeptics is hunters. You know what I mean? Because
Oh
they'll say,
yeah.
well, I've been hunting for 20 years. I've never seen anything. The answer to them is, what were you out there hunting? Deer.
Yeah.
Well, because that's what you were focused on. That's what you were looking for. See what I'm saying? If you change that perspective and say, okay, I'm going to hunt for rabbits. Well, now it changes your whole viewpoint on hunting because now you're hunting for rabbits. So if you're hunting for Sasquatch, you're going to adapt yourself to looking for the signs and looking for the things that will gear you towards a Sasquatch or something like being in the area. You know what I mean? If you're a deer hunter, you're looking for deer. That's it. You're looking for deer, and that's what you're hunting. You know,
Well,
until you see a snake.
I told Miss Vicky from Not So Perfect Bigfoot Show. Um, I'd seen a picture of something. She asked me why did I think this? I said because of the roundness, and I said I practice, and I do. I look for round things in the woods, and she goes, "Well, why roundness?" I said, "Well, there's not a lot of round things in the woods. It's mostly either vertical, horizontal, straight, bent, but there's very few things that are round, like the human head, or even the Sasquatch head, or their shoulders. That's
Right.
standing up. So if you take a golfer that hits in the woods all the time, they go out there looking for their golf ball. Well, they'll find five different other ones before they find their first one. And some people actually would get into that just to gain more golf balls. Uh, they will go out there and they'll start training themselves to find golf balls. If you'll start looking at it that way, uh, then you'll start finding more. You don't look for a full body Sasquatch standing there posing like, "Hey, I'm right here." You got to find the little bitty things. You got to find the horns that are sticking out, whatever you want to call it. Let me get this set back up like the way I had it.
Yeah, I don't know what you did, but all of a sudden, boom, gone.
Yeah, there we go.
He's
There
been
we
known to zap people now. He'll zap people every now and then.
Oh, AT's got so many sap marks on him, it ain't even funny. He getting used to it by now. He's impervious to the pain. But anyways, all right. Evidence. Let's get back to the evidence. Footprints. I heard. Is it Rene Denali? Was that his name? I was watching something today, episode of some kind of show or movie. He said big footprints is evidence.
Yes.
Okay, you're going to have physical evidence, which is a footprint, uh, broken trees, Some people say tree breaks and they got to have a twist to them, according to what I've heard. Uh, those are what I call physical evidence. Hair. Uh, Sightings is a somewhat different. That's not what I call physical. It's not something that you can sit there and document. You know what I'm saying? Unless you get it on film. Sightings is just that. It's a visual evidence. The rest of it's going to be noises, your whoops, your howls, your screams, your tree breaks if you happen to hear them, your footfalls, that kind of stuff. That's going to be audio
Right.
type evidence. What kind of evidence is it going to take? It's what I'm trying to get at. What is it going to take?
Well, that goes back to the beginning where we talk about, do we need to dispatch, one of these Sasquatch to prove his existence? Is the evidence enough? People like myself, and other researchers and people like Jeff Meldrum or, you know, MK Davis, everybody, we believe there's enough evidence. It's done. There is enough evidence. See what I'm saying?
Sure. Oh, yeah.
The only people that are requiring a body are two people: science and skeptics. That's it. And
Yeah,
science
you're right.
skeptics. Scientists are skeptics. So let's narrow it down to just skeptics, but let's put scientists in that. They're the only ones that are requiring a body. They're the only ones. See what I'm saying? But if you told me today, you said, Rick, go out there and get me a panther body to prove that there's panther in Florida, it would probably take me a very, very long time to do that for you. See what I'm
Yep.
saying?
hmm
Now you're taking something that's even more rare than a panther, and they're asking you, get me a body. Because they know the odds are it's not going to happen. That's why they keep saying that, because they want to ignore the evidence. If you broke into my house and I saw you coming out my window, when you stepped on the ground, you left a footprint.
hmm
Okay, you cut yourself on the window pane, and then you yelled, "Oh damn!" That's all evidence. I saw you. I got your footprint. I got your DNA evidence. There's enough to convict that you were in my house and weren't supposed to be there. See what I'm saying?
Yep.
But yet we don't come out there and say, okay, yeah, Sasquatch exists. And then we have video. Now, I didn't say I caught Icebox breaking in my house on body cam, but if you added that to it, see what I'm saying? There's video evidence. See what I'm saying? But yet it's still discounted. It's still discounted on a regular basis. I don't know what to tell people. I
You don't
don't.
know. It's kind of like you don't know what else to do.
Huh?
Outside of having one on this show, me sitting here trying to give him an interview, there's nothing else that I don't think we could do.
You're not going to convince a skeptic. You're not. I don't waste my time with them because they're going to come at it as a skeptic. You know what I mean? They're not, no matter what you give them, they're not going to believe it. So you're just wasting your time. See what I'm saying? You
Mhm.
know, there's non-believers, believers, and knowers. See what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So I don't waste my time with the non-believers, the skeptics or whatever. But the bottom line is, all I tell them is, all I can tell you is get out there and look. Get out there and look for yourself, because most skeptics aren't in the woods.
Oh no. All right, let's say this much. We got somebody, and I'm not saying we do here. I'm just saying, let's say somebody comes up to me and said, "Man, I'm really curious about your subject of Bigfoot. Uh, how do I find out if they're for real?" Okay. What would you tell them is the best way to find out if they're in their area?
I just tell them to go out there and start camping. Start spending time in the areas that you want to research. Start spending time out there. Sit and listen. Just pay attention to what's going on around you. You may hear a knock. You may hear a vocalization. You know what I mean? You may hear something walking. You know what I mean? It starts by just getting out there. That's the starting point. You got to get out there. You'll never, unless you believe in science, unless you believe in evidence, the only other option, because we've given you all that, the only other option is get out there. Get out there. Go buy some camping equipment. Get out there and camp out for 2-3 days. every couple of months, get out there and just spend time in nature.
All right. I'm gonna go this way. If I was somebody come up to me and said, "Hey, I want to know if Bigfoot's in my area, and I want to go out there uh, and see if I can find one." Okay, what would I tell them? Okay,
Do I?
I'd say, what would I tell them? What would be the best way for them to give them a chance to see one? I would tell them, one, research your area. Look
Yep.
for your BFR reports. Listen to some of these channels that's in your area. Uh,
Bigfoot mapping project is a really, really good way of doing it. I
yep,
promote that app, and it's not
yep,
my app, it's somebody else's app, but I really like that app. Download the Bigfoot mapping project, and
yep,
it's Google Earth, but of sightings. And you can zoom in to your area and you can see where the sightings were, when the sightings were. You can read reports. Sometimes there's even photographs with the reports. And that's a good start to say, hey, I didn't know this, but the state park 3 miles down the road, there's been 3 sightings in there the last 10 years. It's a good starting point.
yep, yep. And I was fixing to go that route too. The mapping project, I really like that. That app's a great app. Because I live in Indiana. I used to live in Alabama. We won't get into all that, but up here, there's not a lot of connecting woods and such. Not enough woods there to support the life of a Bigfoot. Okay, it would have to be so connecting. I've happened to find an area up here that I'm curious in, and I'm going to find out before it's all said and done, before this October, if there has been sightings out there, and if there has, see if I can get out there and check them out. So, what would I be looking for if I go out there? A lot of people say structures. Would you agree?
Yes, but not just any structure. Okay. Arches are really unique. And when I find arches, and you've seen me document these arches, now I'm not talking about it's just laying there like that. It's just an arch laid over. I'm looking for key things. I'll see an arch from a distance, go, oh, I got to go over there and look at that. When I get there, now I have to analyze the arch. Is it braided with another tree to hold it down? Is it shoved into the ground, which is unnatural? See what I'm saying? I'm looking for reasons of what is holding this tree down in an arch. See what I'm saying? And if it looks like it had to be done instead of natural, now I've got something. Then I start looking in that area for any other signs. Am I finding prints? Is there a trackway? Is there game trails in the area? You know what I mean? Because I think I have a funny feeling that the arches have something to do with game trails. Um, it's little things like that. You got to start somewhere. You start these small steps, and then, like I said, when I find a research area, like I got this one I really really like a lot. um, but it's arches, it's structures, and then I started leaving equipment out overnight. Started catching some amazing vocals and footsteps and stuff like that, and more knocks. um, you start adding to it, and then once you start getting all this, now you're like, okay, I found tracks, I found structures, I've got vocals, I've got knocks. It's starting to build a picture now. It's starting
Mhm.
to, you don't get all of that the first time you're out there.
That's right.
Nobody gets all that. Oh, hey, I went out for 2 hours in the woods, I got structures, calls that. Nobody does that. See what I'm saying? It's accumulation of time spent out there accumulating this information to say, wow, I'm in a viable area. Now it's narrowing it down and trying to get that money shot, trying to get that picture or film or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm not big on. I don't think trail cams work, but I'm not
Mhm.
big on being cameras out for the simple fact there's a couple of reasons. One, it's expensive, and if something goes wrong, you're out. You're out a nice camera and money. But
Yep.
two, but two, I didn't see it. I might have filmed it. I didn't see it.
Me
Mine,
neither.
I want to see live, and I'm filming it while I'm standing there. See what I'm saying? I want 10 seconds of me looking at it, filming it. I don't want it on a trail cam. I don't want it on anything. I don't want it on a drone. See what I'm saying? Because I didn't see it.
Yeah, you
Okay.
want to touch it.
I want to see this thing. You know,
All right.
and I consider myself lucky enough that I've been fairly close. You know what I mean? But it's like golf, like you said, like golf. I sucked at golf, but every once in a while I'll get that one good shot. That's what
Exactly.
makes me come back the next week.
Yep. That's your bait. All right. I'm gonna go smoke me another one. Everybody knows I go smoke a cigarette every once in a while. But I'm gonna leave you with this question because I would really like to get into this. If you guys still feel okay? Y'all good?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm off tomorrow, so
Okay, cool. All right. I'm gonna leave this question with you, and I'm gonna be right back. Of course, guys, I only go outside, smoke about a half a cigarette, and I come right back. But here it goes.
Or hurry.
I got a question for you, BFG, and I want Waylon to answer this question also. How do you feel about habituating? I'll be right back.
I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea. And I say that not just because of Sasquatch, but any animal. I'm not into feeding any animal in the wild, not raccoons, not squirrels, not anything, because they all get habituated. They become a problem. Okay, they become a problem. So I'm not big on it. For a number of reasons. One is you have to have a really good, solid research area that you know that you can visit a lot and fairly often. Okay, to habituate. That means you got to be out there all the time. You got to be there feeding them, giving them gifts, whatever it is you're trying to do to habituate them. You have to be there all the time. You can't be a fly by night. Well, this week I'm there. 4 weeks later, you're there. 2 weeks later, you're there. You can't do that. If you're going to habituate, that means you got to be out there all the time. They got to get to trust you, know you, and stuff like that. But like again, like I said, you're creating a problem. Okay. Um, I don't want to get that close to them. Period. I want them. I want to see them, film them, and get out of there. I want them to live their lives without intervention from humans. I'm very big on us not intervening with them. Walking through the woods and happen to come across them and filming them is not intervening in their lives. We just both inhabited the same space at the same time, and I filmed it. Um, as soon as I film it, I'm turning around, walking right back out. Okay. But by feeding them and stuff like that, I think we're creating problems. One, habituating is habit. That's what the start of the word is, a habit. So you're creating a habit. What happens when you stop? What happens when somebody else goes out there and it's not you, and they happen to go into that area that you've been habituating this creature, and it's not happy because it hasn't got that jar of peanut butter in a month. See what I'm saying? Um, I'm not a big fan of it at all. We have a place here in another town not far from me called Lake Wales, and there's a tower there called Bach Towers. It's supposed to represent one of the tallest spots in the state of Florida, but it's a beautiful flower garden park with this beautiful tower in the middle. Look it up. It's called Bach Tower, BOK Tower, Bach Tower. It's beautiful. It has a moat around it with swans and all that. Well, one of the things that it was famous for was you could go there and you go into the gift shop and you buy packages of peanuts and you could sit out on the park benches and feed the squirrels. Well, it became a problem. You couldn't sit on a park bench with about 50 or 60 squirrels attacking you, wanting those nuts, because they got habituated to humans. They saw us as food. They're going to feed me. See what I'm saying? And when you tried to hide the peanuts so they wouldn't get them all, they got aggressive. They got very aggressive, and people were getting bit, scratched, and stuff like that. So now it's been quite a long time, 10, 15 years. They stopped that. You're not allowed to feed the squirrels anymore. The squirrels don't bother people anymore. You walk through the garden, they just hop along. They don't even, because it's a new generation. The generation of squirrels there now have not been habituated. See what I'm saying? So again, not a big fan of it. I think that if you're out there feeding these things, they're like any other animal. They're going to get used to it. and then they're going to demand it. They're going to want it. They're going to say that every time you come out here, it better incorporate peanut butter. See what I'm saying? Because I say peanut butter because that's the number one thing that people like to use. See what I'm saying? Um, I'm not a big fan of it. I'm just not. I think it creates more problems than it does anything else. Unless you're filming them, you got a camera there to film this thing, come over and get the peanut butter. And as soon as he does it the first time, I'd stop. I'd be done. Okay, done. You accomplished the goal that you were trying to do. You're not going to make these things your friend. Okay, these are not creatures that are frolicking through the woods and they're one with nature and they bring great spirit. No, it's an animal. It's an animal, and it has a life, and it wants to live, and it wants to protect its young, and it wants to, it just wants to exist. See what I'm saying? And I don't want to interfere with that. I want them that, like I said, I don't think they're going to harm you. I don't think they're going to go out of their way, to say, hey, there's a human over there, I'm going to go kill him. I don't think that's the case. But I think that if you put yourself, you're now inserting yourself into their life by feeding them and stuff like you're inserting yourself. There could be consequences for that. There could be serious consequences, and I'm just not a big fan of it at all.
All right. Before I respond to that, I want to say, Miss V, thanks for coming tonight. You have a good night. I know we're running long, but it's such a wide subject and we're having a good time. So we appreciate you coming tonight. We really do.
Miss
Yep.
V.
All right, Waylon, what do you got on that subject?
I plead the fifth.
You played the fifth. All right. I'm like, I've heard so many stories of people habituating, and it doesn't never seem like it has a good result. It's a
No.
never ending thing. You got to keep on doing it. And when you stop, like the squirrels did, they got aggressive. Uh, and some people say they've done it to appease them. I've heard stories, and I ain't gonna say nothing else about it, but I have heard of people making gardens for them, so they wouldn't mess with their gardens. I've heard of that kind of stuff, and I still don't think it's a great idea. Now, if they are coming in my garden, yeah, I might would consider something like that also. But I don't normal circumstance. All right, let's go with this way. Instead of habituating, what do you think about baiting?
Same thing.
Baiting is
Same
just like,
thing.
yeah,
It's the
it's just like a salt lick to a deer.
Yeah, it's the same thing. You can. It's just calling it something different. To me, it's the same thing. You know what I mean? I'm the opposite. Instead of trying to bait them or habituate them, if I had property, for example, and they were coming like Johnny Two Bears, okay,
Yep.
trying to use that as an opportunity to document them. That's what I would do. Document. But I would not feed into them. I would document them. But when it's all said and done, let's say I got all the documentation I need, I will try to run them off. I will try to get them away from human activity. You know what I mean? I would try to let them know that you're not welcome here. Go in the woods. Go further away where you're safe. See what I'm saying? I would not want them after I've documented what I could. I would want them to go. See what I'm saying? They're not safe. See what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Because I'm
Yep.
not always going to live here. I'm not always going to live here. So if the next people move in after I move or die or whatever, and they move into that house, they now have to deal with this issue.
Hmm.
So I think once I've gotten to a point where I've gotten enough information or documentation or whatever, at that point, I would try to somehow coax them into moving on. Moving on. We're done here. Moving on. I want them to survive. See what I'm saying? The next people that move in or come into that area may not be as open, and they may come with guns and shoot and whatever. You know what I mean? I like I said, like putting trail cameras around your property with IR lighting evidently is shown to work in preventing them from coming around. So that's probably what I would end up doing. It's not invasive. It doesn't harm anybody. And I would put those cameras all around my property for a couple of months until they just got the idea that, yeah, this isn't a place to be. And they move on to another area.
And I've always said the best weapon against a Bigfoot is a camera.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I think IR. I don't know necessarily camera. People say they know certain things and they know that. I don't find that to be factual. You know, I can wear a body camera. I can wear, Bobby or Jimmy's bought sunglasses that has a camera right here. So
Yeah,
he's in the woods. He could record for an hour and a half.
yeah.
See what I'm saying?
No,
They
no,
don't
you.
do
It's got to
things.
be one of these.
I don't think they hate them, but they may know what a gun is, but mostly rifles. Mostly
Yep.
rifles. People don't hunt with pistols.
And shotguns.
They don't hunt with pistols. I think their idea of seeing a pistol is a lot less than them seeing a um a rifle. I think they may recognize a rifle as a boomstick and it hurts. I don't know,
Yeah, exactly.
but I don't think it's enough to scare them away. You know what I mean? I don't think it's enough to scare them away. It might be enough to piss them off. You know what I mean? But it seems like IR tends to work very well as far as because if you look at IR through night vision, yeah, it's bright.
Yeah,
It's like staring at your car with the high beams on. It's very bright. That tiny little red beam is super bright. And if they can see night vision and they can see IR, it's bright. It's
it's
bright
turning. Yeah, it's turning night into daylight to them.
for
And
them.
yeah, and I always tell people, you want to try to do these kind of things. You go out there in the woods at night and you let your eyes get adjusted to the dark. And we're talking probably about an hour or two. They're out there all the time, knowing when it's dark. Can they see good in daylight? Of course they can. But by the time night gets here, they get adjusted again to that night. And you shine a bright light, flashlight, red light, IR. It's just like turning on daylight to them, and they know where you're at. Right away. All right. What do you think about gifting? Either one of you guys.
Same
Same.
thing as habituating.
It's
Same
just,
thing.
it's all just a different name.
Yeah.
Just a
Okay.
different name. It's all the same. You call it whatever. It's all the same.
Well, some people want to do it to see if they leave something in return. They're
Don't want
still.
to. Well, everybody knows the incident I had with the golf ball. See what I'm saying? I
Mhm.
didn't touch that golf ball. I refuse to touch that golf ball. I don't want whatever they give me. I don't want it. See what I'm saying? That's how big I am. I'm not your friend. I don't want to be your friend. I want to help protect you. I want to document you, but there needs to be that space. See what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because it's kind of like the Native Americans when we became buddies and whatever. What did we do? We ended up spreading disease and stuff like that. They end up dying because they weren't used to what we had and stuff like that. I want to keep my distance. I don't want to be friends. I want them protected and safe and stuff like that. I would rather them fear humans than like humans. Because that's going to help them with their survival. But I had the incident with the golf ball, and it just showed up where I left an apple one time. And when I came back a week later, there's a golf ball in the woods replaced. And the apple's gone, but there's a golf ball there. I refuse to touch that golf ball. I don't want anything to do with that at all. Period. Nothing. You
Do
know.
you see it? Do you see it as a contractual, as Jeremiah says?
I don't think it's contractual. I think in the end, it's when they leave something, it's more of a them saying thank you, thank you. You know what I mean? I appreciate it. You know what I mean? Um, but I don't want to start that conversation with them. You know what I mean? I don't want to start that. I want to, like I said, there's got to be a barrier between my world and your world because that's the only way they're going to be safe. It's the only way.
All right.
We already intervene all the time by hiking and fishing and hunting in their areas. See what I'm saying? But I think they've learned to adapt to that. I think they've learned to watch us and observe us and stuff like that. And they know that those people that are out there doing those things are not a threat to them. They're not out there hunting Sasquatch. They're out there hunting deer or whatever. I think they're accustomed to that. See what I'm saying? But I think if we overstep that boundary, I think there would be consequences.
Yeah. Well, did you got anything on that?
I mean, it's just left up to the individual. I mean, you got to take the good with the bad and the bad with the good, and sometimes that's what's going to happen. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad.
Yep.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna have a question, and guys, we'll get off here. We're running on 3 hours, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. Uh, this is the part that I really want to know: do they have boundaries? And what I mean by boundaries is within human contact. Uh, for instance, when you was out there in the woods, you felt like something was touching your tent.
Mhm.
Okay. When it comes to houses, how easy can it just get into a house, knowing there's
Well, I think now I understand what you're saying about boundary. I think there is a boundary, but I think they're more it's curiosity. It's
Mhm.
more curiosity. When whatever came into my camp and walked around my tent, rubbing the top of my tent, was not aggressive. It wasn't ripping at my tent. You know what I mean? It was just touching. It was like curious, like what is this? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, Granted, I was scared. I'm not gonna lie. I was like freaked out, like, oh crap, there's something rubbing my tent. Um, but at no point when it ended, and adrenaline goes away, and you're able to now process what just happened. You realize I was at no point in any danger. Okay, if it's your house, um, I think maybe they're curious. Like we know Whalen, they hit the house or whatever. I think they're being little peckers. I mean, they're just. I
Mhm.
think if they wanted to get in, they'd get in.
Yep.
There's no doubt they'd get in. I think a front door is no match for a 2,000 or 1,200 pound or even a 500 pound creature that wants to get through that door. Will get through that door. See what I'm saying? Um, Now, if they go through Wayland's door, there's probably consequences. But what I'm saying
Oh,
is, if they went in, they could go in. But they're not. They're playing little games. They're being a little harassing. But I think it's a lot with curiosity. Hey, Wayland, come outside. We're out here. We're out here, buddy. Come outside. Because Wayland's going to go out there and look around like, okay, who's hitting my house? And they're giggling like, oh, we got him to come outside. I don't know. See what I'm saying?
yeah.
I, but I believe there are boundaries that they're not trying to intrude and come in. You know what I mean? I don't think so. And like I said, when I talk about not building that wall and not inserting myself in their lives, I think they do the same thing. They don't want to insert themselves in there. I think they get curious. I think we're like television to them. They're bored. They're like they see nature all day long. Then all
Mhm.
of a sudden there's this awkward looking guy walking through the woods and filming and doing all this crazy stuff. Let's go check him out. Let's throw stuff at him. This is interesting. See what I'm saying? And I think it's entertainment. I think it keeps them from being bored or whatever. um Animals play. All animals play. They get bored and they play. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
um so, but I think they're not going to walk out of the woods and walk right up to me and say, "Hey, let's play catch with this rock." I think there's boundaries, like you said. I think they're not going to overstep, and I'm sure not going to do it. I'm sure not going to overstep.
Well, yeah. What about you, Weather?
I mean, all I know is, I mean, I've had just about every interaction with one that you can imagine, except for seeing one. And like I said, where those handprints were, I had a camera pointed directly right there down the side of that house, and there was not one damn bit of video evidence on that camera of anything stepping up there and slapping any house. But I guess people think I went out there and took a little mud and threw some handprints on the side of the house. I mean, my life is not that damn boring. Uh, I mean, it's just amazing to me. If you got when we had those cameras pointed that way, we never picked up anything, not even a heat, nothing. A heat signature, you couldn't find
Yeah.
anything. It's just so that tells me they can blank themselves out
Yep.
somehow. They're doing it
Yep. We
somehow.
just don't know how. The
Yeah.
markers that Jeremiah asked, Jeremiah, this show is meant for you guys. That's why we're kind of reading off the chat room tonight. Normally, I have to sit here. I say I have to. It's something I want to do. I want to sit here and engage with the guests and such. And it's hard to watch the chat room and do a show and engage with them and do both at the same time. Waylon helps me out a whole lot by interacting with the chat room. But tonight was about you guys. What questions you want to ask? And if we're not getting questions, that's why we're having discussions. But don't thank us for it, man. This is what we wanted to do. We wanted to get your guys' questions in. And so, to tell you honestly, you're very welcome. You went back to the structures, Jeremiah, and like I said, we're fixing to get out of here. Uh, boundary markers. Me personally, I do believe there are boundary markers that are set out there, but I have yet to see one. They say they've got X's. You can tell
I
certain
saw them.
X's are structural or not. I happen also to be in the camp of Richard. Unless it's made in a certain way, that it could be anything, And I'm not talking about on the ground. You take a tree and you stick it in the ground, you're going to know that it was shoved in the ground. There's no doubt about it. It's not very hard to tell how it's set there, how it's propped up. I don't know. I have yet to see one. But if you show me one, I'm going to say that's probably some kind of barrier marker. All right. But it's not for us. It's for them.
Yeah, and that's what I said. People like to, everybody like they see a cross and they're like, oh, that means they don't want you in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know that. That's what humans say an X is. It can be something totally different to another culture.
Yeah.
Totally different than another culture. It's like the swastika became this horrible thing with Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
it actually goes back to Egypt time. And it meant something totally different.
Yep.
See what I'm saying? Totally different meaning. So when you see a cross, we say, oh, no, don't go in there. That may not be what it means. See what I'm
That's right.
saying? And that's why I tell people is don't define what the structures are. Just document the structures. What I have found, especially with arches, is I'm always finding a game trail nearby. So that might have some correlation. Maybe. All I can do is document it. That's all I can do is document it. And I've documented some really fantastic arches that have really blown my mind. I mean, like, there's just no way this happened naturally. Just no way. But you hear me in my videos too. Mother Nature does crazy things.
It does.
She
It does.
does crazy things. So just because it's unexplainable doesn't mean it isn't explainable.
Mm-hmm.
Mother Nature's crazy. Um, like I said, you gotta look at it in depth. And I'm getting better at it where I'm walking around and giving different angles of the arches so people see what I'm seeing. But when you have a tree and then a tree and then a tree, and this one branch is wound between them. See what I'm saying? This whole 20-foot tree is bent down and wound through these other trees. The wind didn't do that. See what I'm saying? The wind didn't do that. The wind didn't, one, push it over and then put it between this tree, put it between this tree, and put it, you know what I mean? It's just impossible. So you see things like that and you document it. And people know when they subscribe to my channel, and I do a lot of talking to my subscribers. I love my subscribers to death.
Absolutely.
Is I don't call anything Bigfoot related at all. Not one time. I'm almost at 300 videos, and not one time have I said that's a Bigfoot. Not one time. I document, I show you, and I let the subscriber come up with what they feel it is. See what I'm saying? I don't try to feed anybody on or anything like that. They come to whatever conclusion they want to come to. Okay? Like I said, I'm not there to prove the existence to skeptics. Okay? Those that believe will see one thing. Those that are skeptic will see something else. It's up to their interpretation. All I'm doing is getting out in the woods on a regular basis and documenting what I find. That's the bottom line.
I'll say this. I've heard so much about structures and stuff like that. I've never paid attention to them. Now, we was talking about going back to somebody new that wants to find out these things, and that would be a good way to find out if you might do some research in that area. Uh, but I'm gonna say this much: I did find a tree that was pushed over. I think it was pushed over, uh, and it was probably anywhere from 7 feet to 8 foot off the ground. roots in the base is still in the ground, the trunk, and it's broke over, and you could tell that part of the outer cambium uh, is still bent over from the tree. There's no other tree in that area that's that way. Now, granted, it was broken in what I call a westward direction. Could the wind have just broke this one particular tree that looked very healthy to me, and it probably 6 to 8 inches at least in diameter where it broke at? That takes a lot to break it in that way. Only times I've ever seen stuff like this, tornadoes. There's
Right.
no other tree that's broke that way. So I'm kind of curious about it. I'm going to go back to the same area and I'm going to take a closer look because this time I went out, I was unarmed, and I'm not walking out there in them woods like that unarmed with at least something, in that particular area. But there's got to be something to these structures and uh, people's experiences. Even Les Stroud said something about a tree being pushed over. But what struck me was odd was that it was just basically the diameter of it and 6 to 8 feet of it, or however tall it was still left standing. Something had to break that. Had to. But anyways, guys, y'all got anything else before we get off for tonight? I know there's many more things that we could talk about, but this is what we wanted to do, was try to get the chat room involved. We unfortunately we couldn't get nobody to come on with us, but that's all right. There was a lot of good questions, a lot of good comments, and that's what we was after for tonight. This was for the chat room and just have some fun discussing things. Wendell, you got anything else you would like to talk about before we get out of here?
I've had X's, I told you about it. I've got the
Mhm.
pictures on one of these phones. I'll find them, the good Lord's willing, here one of these days and show them to y'all. I had 4 X's there in one spot. I mean, and the wind did not do what was there. I mean, a human didn't do what was there. Uh, I mean, I know it's hard to believe. It's hard to it's just hard to wrap your mind all around all that stuff. But I mean, they
Yep.
were there, and that's just the way it is. And you know, I don't know that's about all I got. But I'll find those pictures where y'all can see them, and I'll send them to Icebox where you can post them, and y'all can make your own mind up, see what y'all's
Be
opinion is
glad to.
about it.
Yep, I'll be glad to do it. You find them, send them to me. We'll get them up and we'll see what they think. Richard, what you got?
No, I'm good. I was just here tonight to answer questions. I know. I don't have a lot to ask, but answer. But like I said, my advice to everybody is, try to get out there, try to be open minded, and just be weary. You could be 100% believer and knower of Bigfoot and still ask skeptical questions. Okay.
Yep.
And, but always keep an open mind and just don't argue with people. Just present what you have and move on, but other than that, I'll be getting out there again tomorrow. I don't know where I'm going yet. I haven't really given it a lot of thought because I had to work today. I usually have that planned out by Friday, um, but I will be getting out this weekend, so people, will be able to see what I come up with this week. We have the Ocala Bigfoot conference coming up too, so that's going to be a lot of fun. It's an opportunity to see a lot of the Florida researchers and some from out of Florida, and stuff like that. Get an opportunity to be around your peers and talk about different things. I'm hoping to do some interviews while I'm there and stuff like that. So a lot going on. So May's kind of wide open to get out there and do what I need to do. The Bigfoot conference the first weekend of June. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm very excited about that. Um, but people can check me out. Follow me and at BFFG Bigfoot Research on YouTube, and more than happy to. I'm just going to be honest, straight up, and say that if you're looking at seeing Bigfoot evidence every single week, my channel's not the channel for you. It doesn't work that way. I usually tell people be leery of the people that every single time they go out, they got evidence. You know what I mean? It just doesn't work that way. I spend 250 hours a year in the woods, and I would say maybe 4 or 5 times a year, I get something solid. Okay. I get some anecdotal stuff, but solid maybe 4 times in an entire year of getting out. So be leery. Don't, remember some things are just entertainment purposes only.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
It's entertainment purposes. You got people that are going to convince you they got the greatest evidence in the world. They're the greatest researchers on the face of the earth, and they're presenting you with a bunch of junk. Okay, but it's entertainment. That's all it is. They're bringing you in. They got these, bunch of subscribers and stuff. They're just feeding you a bunch of gibbly goom. You know what I mean? Because it's I get entertained too.
Yep. Me
Like
too.
I can sit and listen to Wes Germer. I can listen to the stories. It's entertaining. When I'm at work and I'm bored, I'll pop in an earbud and I'll sit there and just listen to the stories because it's keeping my mind busy and keeping it going. It's just entertainment. See what I'm
Sure.
saying? But if I want to see solid research, I'll switch over and watch one of the researchers that I follow and say, I really, like Johnny Two Bears. When he puts something out, I watch it.
Yep.
Johnny's doing a great job.
He does.
Randy, I like Randy Harrington and Shane Carpenter's stuff. They do some pretty amazing stuff out there, and they think outside the box, and I like that. So, so definitely be weary. Don't be. If you watch those types of shows, just know it's just entertainment. It's just entertainment. That's why I don't have any issues with them. I don't. You can
Yeah.
go here for good research. You can go here to be entertained. It is what it is.
Exactly. Exactly. I love it. Loved every bit of it. All right. Yeah, guys, that's good advice. There are people who really do research, and I'm fortunate enough to be friends with quite a few of them, and I love each and every one of them. I really do. Uh, I'm just fortunate that way. I do like listen to other stories. I like listening to off the wall stuff, but I'd like to see a little bit more proof come out of it. But still, it's good fun stuff to listen to. There's other cryptids, I'm gonna call it. I don't like that word too much, but I'm gonna say there are cryptids that I like listening to about. I don't want to meet them. Don't want to go hunt them down. By the way, guys, if you follow my channel tomorrow, and I don't normally do this, I don't usually announce my guests coming on the show, but I do have Ryan, the Wendigo guy. He was a guest on Not So Perfect Bigfoot show not too long ago, and I thoroughly enjoyed him. He was great. He was fun. Doesn't shy away from questions. And it's just an interesting topic, and the way he goes about it is just great to listen to this young man. So if y'all can be with us tomorrow at 8 o'clock Eastern for this gentleman, it should be a fun show. Guys, that's it for us tonight. We appreciate all of the guys that come on tonight and ladies. This show is about you, is for you. We'll try to do it again and maybe try to get you guys used to coming on here and asking your questions and maybe come on the show with us. It's not hard. It's not. Each one of us was nervous when we first come on here. I guarantee you that. But anyways, come on here and share some time with us and enjoy yourself. All right, guys, that's all I got. If you got nothing else, we'll get out of here. Y'all good? All right, guys, we're out of here. Thank y'all for being here. Chat room, appreciate you guys. Y'all were great. We had fun. Y'all have a good night, and hopefully we'll see y'all tomorrow.